History is not a finished book. It is a sprawling, silent graveyard of secrets waiting for the light. Beneath the shifting sands of the Sahara and the crushing depths of the Mediterranean lie structures that defy our understanding of engineering and echoes of civilizations that vanished without a trace. How did the ancients move stones that weigh 1,000 tons? Why do the same celestial alignments appear in cultures separated by oceans and millennia? Tonight, we peel back the shroud of time. Join me as we descend into 3 hours of the world's most profound, unexplained wonders. Ready to see what the Earth has been hiding? Let's dive in. Nestled quietly on the banks of the Euphrates River, in the region once known as ancient Mesopotamia, lies the archaeological site of Nevali Çori. It's a place that seems to hold its breath, as if guarding its secrets, and has become a focal point for those who seek to understand the earliest chapters of human civilization. The site itself is a study in contrasts. A sprawling complex of stone structures, some of which are over 12,000 years old, emerges from the earth, its foundations stretching deep into the past. Yet, it's not just the age of Nevali Çori that raises eyebrows. It's the nature of what has been uncovered there, the unanswered questions that linger like shadows. The first thing that strikes visitors is the size of the site. Its scale, vast for a settlement of this era, suggests that those who built Nevali Çori were far more advanced than we often give early human societies credit for. The stone walls, meticulously crafted and precisely arranged, seem to challenge the idea that early people were primitive wanderers, scratching out an existence. But there's something more, something subtle and strange about the site that continues to elude explanation. Most famously, Nevali Çori is home to one of the most enigmatic discoveries in ancient archaeology: the large stone pillars known as the T-shaped or totem-like structures. These pillars, some towering more than 3 meters high, are not just remarkable for their size, but for their intricate carvings. Animals, abstract symbols, and mysterious figures, some of them so detailed they appear to almost come to life, are etched into the stone, suggesting a complex belief system or ritualistic practices. But who carved them? And what were they trying to communicate? No one knows for sure. The site dates back to around 9000 BC, long before the rise of writing, and well before the advent of metallurgy. Yet these people managed to carve immense stones, create sophisticated architectural plans, and construct monumental structures with what appears to be a level of understanding and organization that was previously thought to have emerged much later. Was this a society that had found something, some unknown technological or intellectual breakthrough that propelled them forward in a way that most other communities had not? Or did they possess a knowledge of the world around them that has since been lost to time? There's another mystery hidden within the foundations of Nevali Çori: the deliberate nature of its abandonment. At some point, the inhabitants of the site simply left. There are no signs of warfare, no indication that it was destroyed or overrun. Instead, the site was seemingly vacated with purpose. Some theorize that the builders of Nevali Çori moved to a new location, seeking something greater or different. But the decision to leave behind such an ambitious and mysterious settlement raises even more questions. What could have driven them away from something so monumental? Was it a change in their environment? A shift in belief systems? Or perhaps, did they leave because they had accomplished what they set out to do, and their purpose had been fulfilled? The site has also led to speculation about the role Nevali Çori might have played in the broader story of human evolution. Was this a place where early humans came into contact with new, transformative ideas? Ideas that would later shape the course of history? Or could it be that Nevali Çori was part of a larger, now lost civilization, one whose knowledge and influence reached far beyond its immediate surroundings. Some have suggested that the construction techniques and symbolism found at the site bear uncanny similarities to other ancient sites, including Göbekli Tepe, leading to the possibility that a network of early settlements, all sharing advanced knowledge, might have existed across the region. Yet, despite the remarkable discoveries, there remains a sense that we are only scratching the surface of Nevali Çori's true significance. Are we truly looking at an isolated community that developed its own culture in a vacuum? Or are we witnessing the remnants of something much larger and more interconnected, something that time has hidden beneath layers of dust and history? Could the meaning of those carvings, those pillars, still hold a key to understanding the rise of civilization itself? As we stand on the edge of these mysteries, the question remains: what else lies beneath the surface of Nevali Çori, waiting to be uncovered? And how much more of our distant past are we yet to understand? As we continue our journey through the world's most bizarre and mysterious ancient archaeological sites, we now find ourselves on the rugged coastline of Brittany, France, where an immense stone structure rises from the earth. The Cairn of Barnenez, one of the oldest and most significant megalithic monuments in Europe, seems almost timeless, standing silent and unyielding against the relentless Atlantic winds. At first glance, it may appear to be just a simple mound of earth and stone, but beneath its surface lies a profound mystery that has puzzled archaeologists for centuries. The Cairn of Barnenez, dating back to around 4500 BC, predates the Great Pyramids of Egypt and Stonehenge by millennia. It is not just a tomb, though that is its most accepted function, but a monument that reflects the ingenuity of a society whose secrets we have yet to fully understand. At nearly 20 meters high and 75 meters long, the cairn is constructed from massive stones, some weighing several tons. Its sheer size, combined with the precision of its construction, suggests a level of organization and engineering far beyond what we might expect from a Neolithic community. Inside the cairn, a labyrinth of passageways and chambers waits to be explored. These chambers, 11 in total, are arranged with an almost deliberate symmetry. Each one was once lined with intricate carvings, now faded with time, but still visible enough to hint at the care and thought that went into their creation. These carvings, some depicting geometric patterns, others more abstract, offer tantalizing clues about the beliefs and rituals of the people who built this monumental structure. Who were they, and why did they go to such extraordinary lengths to construct such a grand tomb? And what did these carvings mean? Many theories abound about the function of the Cairn of Barnenez. The most widely accepted explanation is that it served as a burial site, possibly for a powerful leader or a group of elites, with the passageways symbolizing the journey to the afterlife. But as with many ancient tombs, questions remain. Could it have been more than just a final resting place? Some have speculated that the cairn was not just a tomb, but also a ceremonial site, used for rituals that connected the living with the spiritual world. The precise alignment of the chambers, for example, may have had astronomical significance, suggesting that the builders had an advanced understanding of the stars. Could Barnenez have been a place where ancient astronomers, priests, or seers sought to align their lives with the cosmos? Further adding to the mystery is the fact that the cairn's construction seems to have required a remarkable degree of coordination and effort. The scale of the project, transporting massive stones, carefully carving them and arranging them into a structure that could endure for millennia, suggests a sophisticated society with a highly organized workforce. How did these early people, without the wheel or advanced tools, manage to accomplish such feats? And why did they choose to construct such a monumental tomb in such a remote location, facing the vast, unpredictable ocean? While mainstream historians believe the Cairn of Barnenez was built by the Neolithic peoples of the region, others have proposed more speculative ideas. Some have suggested that it was the work of a lost civilization, one whose knowledge of architecture, astronomy, and stonework far surpassed what we would expect from the time period. Could the builders of Barnenez have been influenced by ideas from distant lands, long before trade routes connected the far corners of the world? Or, more intriguingly, could they have been part of a forgotten tradition, one that we are only beginning to unravel through the clues they left behind? As with many ancient sites, the Cairn of Barnenez raises more questions than answers. What exactly was its purpose? Why was it built with such precision and care, yet abandoned and forgotten for centuries? And what secrets lie hidden beneath its stones, waiting to be uncovered by future generations? The monument's mystery endures, as it has for thousands of years, leaving us to ponder what other astonishing revelations might still be buried beneath the earth. Could there be more to this ancient tomb than we've yet discovered? Or will it remain, like so many other ancient wonders, a silent witness to a past that may never fully be understood? As we continue our exploration of enigmatic ancient sites, we now turn our attention to a lesser-known but equally intriguing archaeological mystery: Sarazm, an ancient settlement located in the heart of Central Asia, near the modern borders of Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. Often overlooked in favor of more famous ruins, Sarazm stands as a testament to a civilization that flourished long before the rise of the great empires of the Near East, a civilization whose purpose and achievements are still shrouded in mystery. Sarazm is a site that seems almost out of place, its remains tucked away in the wide, arid plains of the Zaravshan Valley. What sets this site apart is not only its age, dating back to around 3000 BC, but the sheer sophistication of its architecture and the complexity of its urban planning. Unlike other settlements of the same era, Sarazm was not just a small village or temporary outpost. It was a thriving, well-organized urban center, complete with intricate buildings, advanced water systems, and evidence of long-distance trade. The site was first discovered in the early 1970s, but it wasn't until excavations began in earnest in the 1980s that the full extent of Sarazm's significance began to come into focus. What archaeologists found was nothing short of extraordinary: an urban settlement with a complex layout, characterized by large rectangular buildings made of mud brick, stone foundations, and an extensive system of streets and drainage channels. At its height, Sarazm would have housed a population of several thousand people, thriving in a region that was, at the time, at the crossroads of ancient trade routes connecting the cultures of Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and the Iranian Plateau. One of the most striking features of Sarazm is the sheer scale and planning of its infrastructure. The settlement appears to have been deliberately designed, with an urban grid pattern that suggests an advanced understanding of engineering and organization. The streets, though modest in their construction, are laid out with remarkable precision, indicating that the builders had a strong grasp of urban planning, something that would not be seen in many other parts of the world for centuries. Moreover, the presence of drainage systems and water storage structures hints at a community that understood the importance of managing resources in a harsh, arid environment. But it's not just the architecture of Sarazm that raises questions. It's what was found within the city's walls. Numerous artifacts uncovered during excavations have suggested that this ancient settlement was part of a much larger network of trade, with goods flowing into and out of the region from distant lands. Metal tools, ceramics, and ornaments made from materials such as lapis lazuli and turquoise, stone materials that were sourced from far-flung regions, point to a sophisticated culture with access to materials not native to the area. Some of these materials were so rare that they must have been highly prized, suggesting a level of wealth and social complexity that is often associated with much later civilizations. Among the most compelling discoveries at Sarazm are the remains of metalworking furnaces, which indicate that the inhabitants of the city were engaged in the production of copper and bronze long before the widespread use of these metals in the ancient world. The ability to smelt and forge metals, particularly copper, is a significant marker of technological progress, and Sarazm's early mastery of this craft suggests that its inhabitants had a deep understanding of metallurgy, setting them apart from many of their contemporaries. Yet, despite the many remarkable finds, Sarazm's full significance remains elusive. While mainstream theories suggest that the site was primarily a trade center and urban settlement, there are still many unanswered questions. Why did the inhabitants of Sarazm choose this particular location for their settlement? Was it purely for its strategic position at the crossroads of ancient trade routes, or was there some other, more mysterious reason? Could there have been cultural or religious practices tied to the site that we have yet to uncover? The presence of ceremonial items and the careful arrangement of the buildings suggest that the people of Sarazm may have had beliefs or practices that we don't yet fully understand. Even more perplexing is the eventual decline of Sarazm. Around 2000 BC, the site appears to have been abandoned, its people leaving without any clear signs of warfare, natural disaster, or invasion. The causes of this sudden disappearance remain unclear. Some archaeologists speculate that the decline could have been caused by a shift in trade routes, environmental changes, or even internal social upheaval. Others wonder if the settlement was simply part of a cyclical pattern of rise and fall that characterized many ancient cities, with populations moving on to new opportunities. But why did this sophisticated civilization, with its advanced trade networks and technological prowess, disappear so suddenly? Adding to the intrigue is the possibility that Sarazm was not just a local hub, but part of a much broader and more complex cultural world, one that has yet to be fully uncovered. Could the inhabitants of Sarazm have been part of a larger, now forgotten civilization whose influence spread across Central Asia, the Iranian Plateau, and even into the heart of Mesopotamia? Or could they have had contact with ancient civilizations that are lost to history, their stories erased by time? As we reflect on the mystery of Sarazm, we are left with more questions than answers. What secrets are still buried beneath its sands? What knowledge might be hidden in the artifacts that have yet to be discovered? And perhaps most importantly, who were the people who built this remarkable city? And what ultimately led to its abandonment? The answers, like so many other ancient mysteries, may remain out of reach for now. But as we continue to uncover the layers of history at Sarazm, we are reminded that even the most seemingly ordinary places can hold extraordinary stories. Stories that, in time, may shed new light on the ancient world and the people who once called it home. As we shift our focus to another extraordinary location, we venture into the towering cliffs of the American Southwest, where one of the most enigmatic and breathtaking archaeological wonders awaits: Mesa Verde. Nestled within the arid expanse of Colorado, the cliff dwellings of this ancient site continue to captivate the imagination of those who encounter them. These structures, built by the ancestral Puebloans, or ancestral Hopi, have stood the test of time, carved into the very rock faces of the cliffs, as if daring us to uncover the mysteries they conceal. At first glance, Mesa Verde appears to be an impossibly remote and desolate place. The rugged cliffs, surrounded by mesas and canyons, evoke a sense of isolation, yet the carefully constructed dwellings are anything but ordinary. There is a certain majesty to them, multi-story stone buildings tucked within natural alcoves, their walls formed of sandstone blocks and mortar. The precision with which these homes were built is nothing short of remarkable. Some of the dwellings are still remarkably well preserved, providing a rare glimpse into a complex culture that once thrived in this challenging environment. Mesa Verde is not just an ordinary archaeological site. It is an entire cliffside city that seems to defy conventional understanding. At its peak, the region was home to thousands of people who constructed these cliff dwellings around 600 AD. The cliff faces themselves, once offering protection and strategic advantages, have become the very symbol of the ingenuity of the ancient Puebloans. They chose these locations carefully, not only for their defensible positions, but for the shelter and relative stability the alcoves provided in a region prone to harsh weather conditions. But beyond their practicality, these cliff dwellings hold a deeper significance, one that we are still only beginning to unravel. The architecture itself is a fascinating puzzle. The dwellings feature intricate layouts, with rooms arranged around central plazas and kivas, subterranean chambers that were used for religious and ceremonial purposes. The complexity of the construction, the design of the buildings, and the advanced techniques used to create these structures suggest a society with remarkable knowledge of engineering and spatial organization. Yet, despite this sophistication, questions abound. How did these ancient people, living in an era long before modern construction tools, manage to create such intricate and durable structures? And why choose the cliffs as their homes, instead of building on the valley floor like so many other early civilizations? Adding to the intrigue is the fact that Mesa Verde's cliff dwellings were not the beginning of the Puebloan people's story. The region had been inhabited for thousands of years before the cliff dwellings were constructed, and the transition to this new cliffside lifestyle remains somewhat mysterious. Some archaeologists believe that the move to the cliffs was driven by the need for greater protection, as the region saw increasing conflict and competition for resources. However, this theory is complicated by the fact that many of the dwellings seem to have been abandoned long before the area became entirely uninhabitable. The reasons for this abrupt departure are still unknown. Was it due to a sudden environmental change, a shortage of resources, or something more complex, perhaps a cultural shift or an event we have yet to uncover? The symbolism embedded in the structures of Mesa Verde is equally mysterious. Some of the cliff dwellings contain elements that suggest a deep connection to the natural world and the spiritual beliefs of the Puebloans. The layout of the dwellings, for example, often aligns with celestial bodies, hinting at an advanced understanding of astronomy. The kivas themselves, with their circular shape and subterranean placement, may have held profound religious significance, possibly linked to ideas of birth, death, and rebirth. The presence of ritualistic items, such as pottery, carved figurines, and ceremonial tools, further suggests that these dwellings were not just homes but sacred spaces where communities gathered to honor the forces they believed controlled their lives. Yet, despite these compelling discoveries, the exact nature of the Puebloans' beliefs and rituals remains elusive. What were they trying to communicate through the design of their dwellings? And why did they leave these remarkable structures behind? The abandonment of the cliff dwellings remains one of the most puzzling aspects of the Mesa Verde mystery. By the late 12th century, the once thriving communities had disappeared, leaving behind only the ruins of their great stone dwellings. Some archaeologists speculate that the departure was linked to environmental factors, such as prolonged droughts or crop failures. Others suggest that social and political pressures, including conflict with neighboring groups, may have contributed to the sudden exodus. But despite decades of research, no single theory has been able to fully explain why this advanced society vanished from the cliffs of Mesa Verde. There are even more speculative theories that have emerged over time. Some have suggested that the cliff dwellings were part of a much larger and more complex cultural network that extended far beyond the borders of the Southwest, potentially reaching other ancient civilizations. Could the Puebloans have been part of a global network of cultures, their knowledge of architecture and astronomy passed down through the generations from a forgotten source? Or might there be deeper, more mystical explanations for the site's construction? An ancient wisdom tied to the land itself, perhaps lost to time? The mysteries of Mesa Verde have drawn numerous theories, each more imaginative than the last. Could there be hidden chambers or unknown parts of the cliffside city still waiting to be uncovered? What if the complex network of kivas and living spaces was designed not just for everyday life, but as a symbolic representation of a cosmic order, a mapping of the stars and the earth itself? Could the ancient Puebloans have been trying to communicate something far more profound than we have yet understood? As we step back and consider the cliff dwellings of Mesa Verde, we are left with a sense of wonder and awe. The precision and foresight that went into their construction, the complexity of the social and spiritual lives of the people who lived there, and the reasons behind their abandonment. These remain unanswered questions that continue to echo through time. Perhaps, as we continue to explore the hidden corners of our world, the mysteries of Mesa Verde will one day be revealed in their full depth. But for now, the cliffs stand silently, guarding their secrets, leaving us to ponder what might still be hidden within the shadows of the stone walls. What if there's more to this story, an undiscovered chapter that will change everything we think we know about the ancient Puebloans? As we leave behind the cliff dwellings of Mesa Verde, we now turn our gaze to the sun-drenched plains of southeastern Spain, where another ancient enigma awaits. La Bastida, an archaeological site that has long been a subject of intrigue and speculation. In the heart of the Iberian Peninsula, this ancient defensive settlement stands as a silent sentinel to a long-forgotten people and their struggles for survival against both the land and their adversaries. Unlike many ancient fortresses, La Bastida's location and construction hold secrets that continue to baffle archaeologists and historians alike. La Bastida is a fortified hilltop settlement, perched high on a ridge that overlooks the surrounding countryside. Its strategic position, visible from miles around, would have provided its inhabitants with an invaluable vantage point, perfect for spotting approaching threats. Yet, the mystery of La Bastida is not simply found in its location, but in the sophistication of its design and the sheer scale of its fortifications. Dating back to around 2500 BC, the site is part of the Bronze Age civilization known as the El Argar culture, a society that left behind remarkable evidence of complex urban planning, metallurgy, and social organization. Yet, the questions surrounding this civilization's rise and fall remain largely unanswered. The first thing that stands out when visiting La Bastida is the enormity of the walls that once encircled the settlement. These defensive walls, made of massive limestone blocks, stretch for several kilometers, some parts still towering over the landscape. The fortifications are not only formidable, but also highly advanced, with multiple layers of defense designed to withstand attack. Several towers and gates are scattered throughout the walls, offering a glimpse into the strategic thinking of the people who lived here. These features suggest a society that had a deep understanding of warfare, territorial defense, and the need for security. But the most intriguing part of La Bastida is its layout. Inside the walls, archaeologists have uncovered a maze of narrow streets, carefully arranged houses, and large public spaces, all organized with a level of precision that would not be seen again in the region for many centuries. One of the most striking features of the settlement is the size and complexity of the houses themselves. The buildings at La Bastida are not just simple dwellings. They are large, multi-roomed structures that speak to a sophisticated understanding of architecture. The rooms are organized around central courtyards, and in many of the homes, evidence of advanced building techniques, such as the use of clay, stone, and timber, has been uncovered. Some houses even show signs of communal living, suggesting that this was a society with a degree of social organization and cooperation. This level of urban sophistication in a Bronze Age settlement is remarkable, and it raises the question, how advanced was this society, and what were they capable of achieving that we have yet to fully understand? While the advanced architecture and fortifications of La Bastida are fascinating, It is the discoveries beneath the surface that truly heighten the mystery. Excavations have revealed evidence of an intricate burial system, with many of the deceased buried within the settlement itself, some with grave goods and offerings that suggest the community held complex beliefs about life and death. These graves, often found beneath the floors of the homes, indicate that La Bastida was not just a defensive stronghold, but a place of deep spiritual and cultural significance. The ritualistic practices associated with death, and the care with which the dead were treated, suggest a society that valued the past and the connection between the living and the dead. But what did these rituals mean? What spiritual beliefs did they hold, and how did those beliefs shape their daily lives? Adding to the intrigue is the evidence of metallurgy found at La Bastida. The El Argar culture was known for its advanced metalworking techniques, particularly in bronze, and the settlement of La Bastida shows signs of a thriving metallurgical industry. Artifacts such as bronze tools, weapons, and ornaments have been uncovered, many of which display remarkable craftsmanship. But it's not just the skill with which these items were made that is so striking. It's the presence of large-scale production facilities, including workshops dedicated to the smelting and forging of metal. This suggests that La Bastida was not only a defensive settlement, but also a center for industry and trade. But who were they trading with? And what drove their demand for metal goods? Was this a result of local resources? Or was La Bastida part of a wider network of trade stretching across the ancient Mediterranean world? Despite these impressive findings, the true significance of La Bastida remains elusive. While the mainstream understanding points to the site as a strategic military and industrial hub of the El Argar culture, questions persist. Why, for example, did such a well-defended and sophisticated settlement not leave behind more evidence of a lasting empire? There is no indication that La Bastida ever expanded beyond its relatively small size, and despite its clear military capabilities, it appears to have been abandoned abruptly. The reasons for this sudden desertion are still debated. Was it the result of internal collapse, such as a shift in social structure or a failure of leadership? Or could it have been the result of external pressures, raids or invasions from neighboring peoples that caused the settlement to fall into decline? Theories abound as to what may have led to the fall of La Bastida. Some archaeologists believe that the settlement was part of a broader collapse of the El Argar culture, possibly due to environmental changes, such as shifts in climate that affected the region's agricultural output. Others point to the possibility of conflict with neighboring tribes or other Mediterranean civilizations that may have threatened the stability of the settlement. But even these theories remain speculative. There are no clear answers. One of the most fascinating aspects of La Bastida, however, is the possibility that it was part of an even larger, more complex network of settlements that spanned the region. The discovery of similar fortifications and burial practices at other sites in the Iberian Peninsula suggests that La Bastida may have been one of many interconnected communities, each with its own role to play in a larger, though still undefined, civilization. Could there have been a vast trading network, or even a cultural exchange, that we have yet to fully comprehend? As we consider the mystery of La Bastida, it becomes clear that we are standing at the edge of something much greater than just a well-preserved Bronze Age fortress. There are deeper questions here, questions about the rise and fall of civilizations, the role of spiritual beliefs in everyday life, and the mysteries of trade, industry, and war. What might still lie buried beneath the soil of La Bastida, waiting to be uncovered? What stories are hidden within the walls and the graves of this ancient settlement? As we continue to explore, the enigma of La Bastida endures, its secrets not yet fully revealed but undeniably present, calling us to wonder what else this ancient world may have left behind. After exploring the mysterious fortifications of La Bastida, we now find ourselves traveling to a remote yet equally captivating location in the American Southwest, Chaco Canyon. Nestled in the high desert of northwestern New Mexico, Chaco Canyon is a place where time itself seems to bend. Here, amidst the rugged beauty of sandstone cliffs and wide open skies, lie the ruins of some of the most awe-inspiring and enigmatic structures ever constructed by ancient civilizations. The great houses of Chaco Canyon, monumental stone buildings that date back to around 1000 AD, continue to challenge our understanding of early Native American societies and their advanced architectural and astronomical knowledge. As you stand at the edge of the canyon, looking out over the sprawling ruins, it is impossible not to feel a sense of wonder and curiosity. The great houses, some of which are the size of modern-day buildings, are positioned with incredible precision, their stone walls rising dramatically from the earth. These structures, including the well-known Pueblo Bonito, Chetro Kettle, and Quincletso, were once thriving hubs of culture, politics, and commerce, home to a sophisticated society that built their homes with a level of complexity far beyond what might be expected of a culture that, at the time, had no written language. The layout of Chaco Canyon is just as fascinating as its monumental buildings. The great houses are not scattered randomly across the canyon floor, but are arranged in alignment with each other, and with the natural landscape in ways that suggest a deep understanding of astronomy. The positioning of the buildings corresponds with celestial events, such as the rising and setting of the sun, the solstices, and the lunar cycle. The alignment of the structures, coupled with the presence of a series of kivas, ceremonial, often circular structures used for spiritual rituals, points to a sophisticated society that not only understood the cosmos, but perhaps even used it to guide their daily lives and spiritual practices. At the heart of Chaco Canyon, Pueblo Bonito stands as the most iconic of the great houses. With over 600 rooms and a central plaza, it is believed to have served as a central hub for political, ceremonial, and social activities. Yet, despite the vast size of the settlement, the purpose of these buildings remains a mystery. Why did the people of Chaco Canyon invest so much time, energy, and resources into creating such massive and intricate structures? What role did these great houses play in the larger context of the society they belonged to? It is not just the sheer size and complexity of the great houses that intrigue archaeologists, but the unexplained aspects of their construction and use. The stone blocks that make up the buildings were hauled from miles away, yet there is little evidence to suggest that the builders of Chaco Canyon had any form of wheeled transportation. How did they manage to transport these massive stones across such a difficult landscape? The use of timber, poles that were likely brought from distant forests, further adds to the mystery, as it suggests a level of resource management and long-distance trade that is still not fully understood. Some archaeologists have proposed that Chaco Canyon was the center of a vast trading network, with goods flowing in from far and wide, including turquoise, pottery, and even macaws from Central America. This idea is supported by the discovery of numerous artifacts from other parts of the ancient world, but the question remains: why did this society, so capable of establishing such a widespread network, abandon the canyon in the late 12th century, leaving behind their monumental buildings and sophisticated way of life? The abrupt decline of Chaco Canyon is one of the central mysteries that continues to puzzle researchers. By the late 1100s, the population of the canyon had begun to dwindle, and by the early 13th century, the great houses were abandoned. Was it environmental factors, such as a prolonged drought or changing climate, that led to the decline of Chaco Canyon? Or was it social unrest, internal conflict, or pressure from external groups that forced the inhabitants to abandon their once thriving center? Despite decades of research, no definitive answer has emerged. Adding to the intrigue are the many questions surrounding the spiritual and ceremonial aspects of Chaco Canyon. The kivas, which were often located at the center of the great houses, are thought to have played a significant role in the religious practices of the Chacoans. But what exactly did these rituals entail? Some researchers believe that Chaco Canyon was not just a political and economic center, but also a spiritual one, where sacred ceremonies took place in alignment with the stars and the changing seasons. Could it be that the Chacoans were using these ceremonies to maintain a cosmic balance, or to communicate with forces beyond their understanding? The degree to which the people of Chaco Canyon were in tune with the celestial movements around them remains one of the most captivating and speculative aspects of the site. Interestingly, there are also theories that suggest a possible connection between Chaco Canyon and other ancient sites in the southwestern United States. Some have speculated that Chaco Canyon may have been part of a larger, interconnected network of sites that spanned across the desert regions, sharing architectural styles, ceremonial practices, and perhaps even political and religious ideologies. Could Chaco Canyon have been the spiritual heart of a much larger cultural and political entity, one whose influence stretched across the vast deserts and mesas of the American Southwest? But despite the many questions, the ultimate mystery of Chaco Canyon lies in its abandonment. What caused this advanced society, with its knowledge of architecture, astronomy, and long-distance trade, to simply vanish? Theories abound. Some suggest a collapse due to overexploitation of resources. Others point to the possibility of social or environmental collapse. But none can fully explain why such a prosperous and influential center was abandoned so suddenly. The stone walls of Pueblo Bonito and the other great houses stand as silent witnesses to the rise and fall of a once thriving culture. The intricacy of their design, the alignment with celestial bodies, and the presence of elaborate ceremonial spaces suggest that the people of Chaco Canyon were a society of great spiritual and intellectual depth. And yet, their disappearance remains one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world. As we continue to explore the great houses of Chaco Canyon, we are reminded that there is much more to discover. What were the true purposes of these monumental buildings? How did the Chacoans manage to construct such complex structures with limited resources? And perhaps most importantly, why did they leave? The answers to these questions may still lie hidden beneath the layers of time, waiting for the next generation of archaeologists, historians, and explorers to unlock the secrets of this ancient and mysterious place. As we continue our journey through the world's most mysterious and perplexing archaeological sites, we now find ourselves in the rolling hills of the English countryside, where the tranquil landscape hides a secret of profound historical significance: Stony, Littleton, Long Barrow. Located in the county of Somerset, this ancient burial chamber stands as a testament to the burial practices of a long-lost society, its stones weathered by time, yet still holding a quiet reverence for the past. The mystery of Stony Littleton is not just found in its remarkable age or its enigmatic construction, but in the ritualistic and spiritual beliefs it may represent, beliefs that remain hidden from us, buried beneath the stones for millennia. At first glance, Stony Littleton may appear as little more than a mound of earth, its grassy exterior broken only by the outline of stones peeking out from the ground. But beneath this unassuming surface lies one of the most fascinating and mysterious burial structures of the Neolithic period, dating back to around 3800 BC. The barrow, or burial mound, is long and narrow, measuring nearly 20 meters in length. It is constructed with a series of carefully placed stones that form a narrow passage leading into the heart of the tomb. Upon entering, visitors are greeted by the sight of a series of chambers, formed from large slabs of stone arranged in a way that suggests a sophisticated understanding of architecture and engineering, far beyond what we might expect from a society with limited tools. The most striking feature of Stony Littleton is the design of the chambers themselves. Unlike other long barrows, which typically have a single burial chamber at the center, Stony Littleton is divided into a series of small interconnecting rooms. This arrangement has puzzled archaeologists for years. What was the purpose of these multiple chambers? Were they all intended for burial, or did some serve a more ritualistic or ceremonial function? The fact that the chambers are aligned with remarkable precision many with doorways that seem to align with certain celestial events, suggests that this site was not simply a resting place for the dead, but also a place of profound spiritual and cultural significance. Inside these chambers, archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of human remains, as well as various artifacts that hint at the spiritual beliefs of the people who built it. The bones found in the barrow show signs of careful placement and deliberate positioning, suggesting that these were not simply the remains of individuals laid to rest in haste. Some of the bones exhibit signs of ritualistic treatment, cut marks, signs of burning, and other signs that suggest these remains were part of elaborate funerary practices. The discovery of human skulls arranged in strange, ritualistic patterns only adds to the enigma, leading some to speculate that the site may have been used for ancestor worship or other complex spiritual rites. But it is not only the human remains that make Stony Littleton so compelling. The artifacts uncovered inside the barrow, pottery, tools, and other ceremonial objects, suggest that the people who built this structure were part of a society with a rich and complex spiritual life. These objects are not just items for daily life. Many appear to have been specifically crafted for burial or ritual use, indicating that the people who constructed Stony Littleton believed in an afterlife, or at least in the continued existence of the spirit after death. Some of the pottery found in the barrow is decorated with intricate patterns, which seem to suggest a symbolic or ritual significance, perhaps even representing the cyclical nature of life and death. The alignment of the chambers with celestial events further deepens the mystery of Stony Littleton. Could the builders have been attempting to harness the power of the stars, the sun, or the moon to guide the souls of the dead on their journey to the afterlife? The fact that the barrow appears to be aligned with the rising and setting of certain celestial bodies suggests a level of astronomical knowledge that was advanced for its time. Some researchers have even proposed that Stony Littleton could have been used as a kind of cosmic calendar, where the movements of the heavens were tracked and observed, helping the community to mark the passage of time and determine the most auspicious times for rituals or ceremonies. Yet, despite all of the remarkable discoveries at Stony Littleton, many questions remain unanswered. Why were multiple chambers needed? Why were the bones arranged in such specific ways? Was this a community that practiced ancestor worship? Or were the rituals performed here connected to broader spiritual beliefs about life and death? And perhaps most intriguingly, why was such a site constructed in the first place? The design and scale of Stony Littleton suggest that it was of immense cultural and spiritual importance to the people who built it, yet we have no written records to explain the full meaning of this sacred space. There are also more speculative theories surrounding the function of the barrow. Some researchers have proposed that Stony Littleton may have been a place of pilgrimage, drawing people from far and wide who sought to connect with the spirits of the dead, or to seek guidance from the stars. Others have suggested that the barrow may have served a political purpose, acting as a symbol of power or unity for a tribal leader or chieftain. Could the chambered tomb have served as a place where the elite of the society were buried, alongside those who were deemed important enough to be given a place in the afterlife? Or could it have been a site for a larger community, where the living and the dead interacted in ways that we can only imagine? One particularly tantalizing aspect of Stony Littleton is its relationship to other burial sites in the region. Could it be that Stony Littleton was part of a larger network of burial and ceremonial sites, connected by ritual and tradition? Archaeological evidence suggests that the people who built long barrows and tombs across Britain were part of a wider cultural network, sharing similar beliefs and practices. Perhaps Stony Littleton was just one piece in a much larger puzzle, one whose full meaning has yet to be understood. As we stand before the ancient stones of Stony Littleton Long Barrow, we are reminded that some mysteries are not easily solved. The passage of time has obscured the reasons why this burial site was built, and the deeper spiritual beliefs that it may have represented. But in the shadows of the barrow's chambers, where human remains lie in stillness, and the stones seem to whisper of forgotten rituals, we are left to wonder. What truths remain hidden beneath the earth? And what might the ancient people who built Stony Littleton still have to teach us about the spiritual world and our connection to the past? As we leave behind the ancient burial chambers of Stony Littleton, we now travel to a remote and captivating corner of the African continent, South Africa's Mpumalanga province, where a mysterious and ancient site known as Adam's Calendar beckons. Hidden among the rugged hills, this enigmatic collection of stone circles has intrigued archaeologists, historians, and even those with a more speculative interest for decades. Unlike anything else found on the African continent, Adam's Calendar raises more questions than answers, presenting an archaeological puzzle that straddles the line between fact and myth, ancient wisdom and unexplained phenomena. The site, sometimes referred to as Africa's Stonehenge, is set against a backdrop of rolling hills and vast savannas, with a panoramic view that stretches across the horizon. At first glance, Adam's Calendar may seem like a natural rock formation, weathered by centuries of wind and rain. Yet, upon closer inspection, it becomes clear that the arrangement of large stone blocks and circles is not purely natural. The stones are meticulously arranged, creating an intricate pattern that suggests purposeful design. The central feature of the site is a large stone circle, roughly 30 meters in diameter, with several smaller concentric circles around it, each aligned with remarkable precision. What makes this site even more intriguing is the fact that the stones themselves, some weighing several tons, have been carefully shaped, their surfaces smoothed and marked with mysterious symbols. Adam's Calendar, according to some, is much more than a mere stone circle. It is believed to be the remains of an ancient astronomical observatory, possibly built more than 75,000 years ago by a civilization whose knowledge of the stars and the cycles of the Earth far surpassed what we would expect for the time. The main stone circle is aligned with the sunrise during the winter solstice, and the smaller circles seem to track other celestial events. This remarkable alignment with the sun and stars suggests that the builders of Adam's Calendar possessed an advanced understanding of astronomy. The question that arises is, who were these people, and why did they build such a complex site so long ago? Some researchers have proposed that Adam's Calendar was a form of calendar system, a means of tracking the seasons, the phases of the moon, and the movements of the stars. Given the ancient civilization's apparent mastery of the cosmos, it seems plausible that they used this site to mark important events, such as agricultural cycles or religious rituals. The alignment with the winter solstice in particular hints at a culture that was highly attuned to the rhythms of the earth and the sky, perhaps using the solstice as a marker for a time of renewal or sacrifice. Was Adam's Calendar used to guide the planting and harvesting of crops, or perhaps to measure the passage of time for ceremonial purposes? Yet, despite these plausible theories, there are aspects of Adam's Calendar that remain deeply mysterious. For one, there is no clear evidence to identify the people who built it. The site predates recorded history, and no artifacts or written records have been found that could directly connect it to a known civilization. This lack of concrete evidence has led some to speculate that the site could be far older than anyone previously believed. Could it have been constructed by a civilization that predates even the earliest known societies, perhaps by tens of thousands of years? Or was it built by a group whose history was entirely erased by time, leaving only the remnants of their monumental achievement? Another intriguing aspect of Adam's Calendar is its connection, or lack thereof, to other ancient sites. Unlike the more famous megalithic structures in Europe, such as Stonehenge, which are part of a broader cultural and architectural tradition, Adam's Calendar appears to stand alone. While there are other stone circles and ancient structures in southern Africa, none seem to share the same astronomical alignment or degree of complexity as this one. This raises further questions. Was Adam's calendar part of a larger network of sites built by an advanced civilization, or was it the work of an isolated group with unique knowledge? And why, after so many millennia, does this site remain so little known to the outside world? Adding to the mystery is the local legend that surrounds the site. Some traditions claim that Adam's calendar is not just an ancient observatory, but also the resting place of the first humans. According to some interpretations of African mythology, the site is named after the biblical figure Adam, and it is believed to mark the spot where humanity began, where the first humans made their appearance on Earth. This connection to the origins of humankind has led some to suggest that Adam's calendar is not just a site of astronomical observation, but a sacred place with profound spiritual significance. Could the site have served as a place of worship, where early humans paid homage to the forces of nature and the cosmos? And if so, what was their understanding of the world and the universe? Did they see themselves as participants in a larger cosmic order, guided by the movements of the heavens? This speculation opens the door to even more questions. Could the builders of Adam's calendar have had knowledge of the stars and constellations that was passed down through generations? Some researchers believe that the alignment of the stones at Adam's calendar mirrors the position of certain stars in the sky, perhaps even the stars of the Orion constellation, which has long been associated with ancient myths of creation and the afterlife. The connection to Orion, and by extension to the ancient Egyptian pyramids, has led some to wonder whether the builders of Adam's calendar were part of a far-reaching ancient tradition of astronomical knowledge, one that spanned continents and civilizations. Despite the many tantalizing possibilities, the true purpose of Adam's calendar remains a mystery. Some scholars dismiss it as nothing more than a natural rock formation, claiming that the arrangement of stones is simply a coincidence. Others, however, are convinced that it is the remains of an ancient observatory, a place where early humans harnessed the power of the stars to shape their lives and beliefs. Could Adam's calendar have been the foundation of an ancient astronomical tradition that we have yet to fully understand? Or was it the work of a lost civilization, whose knowledge was so advanced that it has eluded us for thousands of years? As with many ancient sites, the mystery of Adam's calendar endures, offering more questions than answers. What were the true intentions of the people who built this extraordinary stone circle? What knowledge did they possess, and how did they come to understand the movements of the stars with such precision? Was it simply a tool to track time and the seasons, or did it hold deeper spiritual meaning for the people who created it? As we continue to uncover the hidden corners of our past, we may yet discover that Adam's calendar holds the key to understanding not only the history of humanity, but also the timeless connection between the earth, the stars, and the people who once gazed up at the heavens in wonder. The answers may lie hidden in the stones themselves, waiting for the right moment to be uncovered. As we journey from the ancient stone circles of Sardinia, we now find ourselves in the mist-covered hills of Ireland, where a different kind of mystery waits to be unraveled. High in the rolling countryside of County Meath lies Loughcrew, a site that holds secrets as old as the land itself. Unlike the grand stone structures of the Mediterranean, the burial mounds of Loughcrew, known as the Loughcrew cairns, are more subtle in their appearance, yet their silence and isolation create an aura of mystery that has captivated visitors and scholars for centuries. Loughcrew is home to a series of Neolithic burial mounds, or cairns, scattered across a hilltop overlooking the vast emerald-green landscape below. There are 30 cairns in total, but the most significant of them all is Cairn T, which sits at the summit, its massive stones arranged in a dome-like structure. From a distance, it might appear to be just another pile of ancient rocks, but when you step closer, you realize that there is something deliberate, something almost uncanny about the arrangement of the stones. Cairn T is a passage tomb, a burial site that would have been used for sacred rituals thousands of years ago. Its purpose, however, is far from simple. The cairn's entrance leads into a long passageway where sunlight at specific times of the year pours through the stone doorway. This event, known as the illumination effect, occurs during the spring equinox and the autumn equinox, when the sun rises directly above the horizon, casting light deep into the tomb. The alignment of Cairn T with the solar cycle suggests that this was not just a burial site, but a place of spiritual significance, where the changing of the seasons was marked with rituals, possibly to honor ancestors or to mark the cyclical nature of life itself. But who were the people who built this site, and what did they understand about the forces that shaped the world around them? The tomb itself is adorned with intricate carvings, spirals, zigzags, and other geometric patterns, etched into the stone walls. These markings, found in various cairns throughout the Loughcrew complex, remain a source of intrigue. While some of these symbols are recognizable as common motifs from the Neolithic period, their full meaning is still a matter of debate. Were they simply decorative, or did they have a deeper symbolic or religious significance? Some have speculated that these spirals, which appear in many ancient cultures across Europe, may represent concepts of eternity, the cycles of the moon, or the journey of the soul. Yet, no definitive explanation has been agreed upon, leaving the symbols to speak only in riddles. The size and scale of the Loughcrew cairns are equally perplexing. Cairn T alone, which measures approximately 12 meters in diameter, is constructed from hundreds of large stones. The sheer effort involved in transporting and arranging these stones, some weighing several tons, indicates a highly organized society capable of coordinating large-scale labor projects. Yet, unlike other megalithic sites such as New Grange, which is better known for its more intricate carvings and wider significance, Loughcrew remains somewhat obscure in the archaeological record. Why was this site not as celebrated or studied as other Neolithic monuments in Ireland? Could it be that its significance has been overlooked? Or is it that the site itself holds secrets so profound that they have yet to be fully uncovered? The mystery surrounding Loughcrew is not confined solely to its stone structures. The site's remote location, atop a hill and isolated from the more densely populated regions, adds an element of intrigue. Why build such an elaborate site in such an isolated place? Some have suggested that the positioning of the cairns was deliberate, designed to connect the people who built them with the land, the sky, and the cycles of nature. Cairn T, in particular, is aligned with not only the sun, but with the vast, seemingly endless landscape that stretches below it, suggesting that the site was as much about the experience of the surrounding environment as it was about the tomb itself. But what exactly was the purpose of these burial mounds? Though it's clear that they were used as tombs, the use of light during the equinoxes adds a spiritual dimension to their function. The people of the Neolithic period, while skilled in constructing impressive tombs, would have had little to no written language. Their knowledge of the stars, the sun, and the moon, however, was likely profound, passed down orally through generations. Could it be that Loughcrew served as a ceremonial center, one that brought together the living and the dead, connecting both realms through the changing of the seasons? Was it a place where the cycle of life, death, and rebirth was not only honored, but perhaps understood in ways that we, with all our modern knowledge, cannot yet comprehend? One theory, proposed by some researchers, suggests that Loughcrew may have been part of a larger network of sacred sites. If this is true, the cairns at Loughcrew could have served a role similar to that of other prehistoric monuments across the British Isles, which were often connected by ancient paths or ritual routes. The idea that these ancient people maintained a deep spiritual connection with their environment, through both their monuments and their understanding of celestial events, has led some to suggest that the cairns of Loughcrew were far more than simple burial sites. They may have acted as a kind of ritual landscape, where people from all around the region would gather to mark important events, to perform ceremonies, and to honor their ancestors. Yet, despite these plausible theories, many aspects of Loughcrew remain unexplained. Why were these particular cairns chosen for such elaborate construction, and what drove the people who built them to invest so much effort and resources into creating these monumental structures? Was it simply a desire for grandeur, or did the people of Loughcrew understand something far deeper about the cycles of life, death, and the cosmos than we can even begin to imagine? Perhaps most intriguing of all is the question of why Loughcrew remains so mysterious. Unlike other ancient sites, Loughcrew does not have the same level of recognition or fame. Could it be that its true significance has been overlooked by modern archaeology? Or is it possible that the full meaning of Loughcrew is so deeply entwined with the spiritual beliefs of its creators that it cannot easily be understood by modern minds? What if Loughcrew, with its carefully aligned stones and intricate carvings, holds a key to understanding an ancient worldview, a perspective that has been lost in the sands of time? Standing before the burial mounds of Loughcrew, the questions only deepen. What might we still be missing, and what might still lie hidden beneath the earth or within the stones themselves? As we continue our exploration of ancient archaeological mysteries, Loughcrew invites us to consider the possibility that some sites, no matter how seemingly remote or humble, hold untold secrets about the nature of our past and our connection to the forces that shaped our ancestors' lives. Could the tombs at Loughcrew be the remnants of a forgotten spiritual tradition, one that we have yet to fully uncover? The mystery remains open, inviting us to ponder what might still be waiting to be discovered, if only we know where to look. As we leave the stone structures of Sardinia behind, we now journey to the mist-shrouded hills of County Meath in Ireland, to a site that remains one of the most fascinating yet obscure archaeological mysteries in Europe, Loughcrew. Here, amidst the quiet, rolling green landscape, a collection of ancient burial mounds, known as the Loughcrew Cairns, rise up from the earth. This seemingly tranquil site holds an enigmatic history that stretches back over 5,000 years, and yet, its true significance continues to elude modern understanding. It's a place where history, mythology, and mystery intertwine, and where the stone structures still seem to whisper secrets to those willing to listen. Loughcrew is not a single burial mound, but a vast complex of megalithic cairns spread across 3 hilltops, each of them topped with stone monuments. These burial cairns, built during the Neolithic period, are designed with precise construction, utilizing large stones that align in a way that suggests not just a place for burial, but a sacred space imbued with deeper meaning. The site is relatively remote, tucked away in the countryside, and its location alone suggests that it may have been of great importance to the people who built it. Among the many cairns of Loughcrew, Cairn T is the most well-known and best preserved, standing at the highest point of the complex. At first glance, Cairn T appears to be just another mound of stone and earth, nothing particularly unusual in the landscape. But as you step closer and pass through its narrow stone passage, something remarkable becomes evident. Inside, the tomb is aligned in such a way that, during the spring and autumn equinoxes, sunlight pours through the entrance, illuminating the interior of the cairn with a soft, golden glow. This alignment with the solstices and equinoxes suggests a people deeply attuned to the natural world, whose knowledge of astronomy and the cycles of the sun and moon was likely far more advanced than we usually associate with ancient societies. The precise way in which the cairn is constructed, combined with this solar alignment, hints at a far more complex and ceremonial purpose than simply being a burial site. Was Loughcrew not only a place to honor the dead, but a site to mark the passage of time itself? Did the people who built Cairn T, along with the other cairns in the complex, intend to synchronize their rituals with the cosmos, celebrating the eternal cycles of the sun and moon? This alignment with celestial events suggests that the Neolithic people of Ireland were not only concerned with the physical realm, but were also profoundly engaged with the spiritual world, one that they believed could be connected through the movement of the stars. Within the chambers of Cairn and other cairns scattered across the hills, archaeologists have uncovered evidence of ritual practices and ceremonial offerings, including fragments of pottery, animal bones, and even small artifacts. These offerings raise further questions. What did these people believe about the afterlife, and what role did these rituals play in their understanding of the universe? Were these burials meant to ensure safe passage for the deceased into another world, or were they part of a larger, ongoing communion between the living and the dead? And what was the significance of the intricate carvings found within these cairns? Spirals, zigzags, and other geometric patterns that seem to suggest a symbolic language, one that has yet to be fully deciphered? While mainstream archaeology posits that these cairns were primarily used for ceremonial burial, the precise role of Loughcrew within the broader context of Neolithic Ireland remains unclear. There are no written records from this time, no surviving texts to explain the intentions of the people who constructed the cairns. As a result, interpretations are often based on conjecture, drawing from mythology, folklore, and comparative studies of other megalithic sites in Europe. However, no conclusive evidence exists to tie Loughcrew to any specific cultural or political system. The people who built these structures may have lived in a decentralized society, with each cairn serving as a regional center for rituals and ceremonies rather than as part of a singular, cohesive civilization. One theory suggests that the cairns of Loughcrew were not just places of burial or astronomical observation, but were part of a much larger ritualistic landscape, a network of sacred sites that connected the people across the region. Were these sites linked by paths or ley lines, as some researchers have speculated? Could it be that the people of Loughcrew were part of an ancient tradition that spanned much of Ireland, where the rituals performed at these sites were integral to a larger spiritual practice? Some fringe theories even propose that the Loughcrew cairns were constructed by a lost civilization, with knowledge far beyond what we typically associate with Neolithic societies. Could the builders of Loughcrew have had contact with other ancient cultures, exchanging knowledge of astronomy, architecture, or spirituality? Some theorists draw comparisons between the cairns at Loughcrew and other ancient sites around the world, like the pyramids of Egypt or the megalithic stone circles of Britain, suggesting that a shared ancient tradition of stone construction might have existed. If true, this could suggest that Loughcrew was part of a much older global network of megalithic sites, the purpose and extent of which we are still struggling to understand. The carvings found within the cairns add to the mystery. The spirals and geometric shapes etched into the stone are not only aesthetically remarkable, but also symbolically loaded, appearing in other Neolithic sites throughout Europe. Could these carvings represent a deeper understanding of the cosmos, perhaps a symbol of the sun, the moon, or the cycles of the stars? Some researchers even believe that the spirals could symbolize eternity or the cyclical nature of life and death. Could these symbols have been meant to help guide the souls of the dead on their journey, marking the passage from life to the afterlife with sacred geometry? Despite these fascinating theories, there is still no consensus on the meaning of the Loughcrew cairns, or the precise purpose of the elaborate rituals performed there. Some of the more speculative interpretations suggest that these sites may have been connected to concepts of fertility, seasonal change, or even the power of the earth itself. In the absence of concrete evidence, we are left with more questions than answers. Were the cairns a place where early humans sought to connect with the divine forces of nature? Or were they simply places of burial, holding the remains of the dead with respect and care? What is undeniable, however, is that Loughcrew stands as a testament to the profound spiritual and astronomical knowledge of its builders. Whether the site was part of a larger network of sacred places, a place of solar worship, or a simple burial ground, it serves as a reminder of the deep connection between the people of ancient Ireland and the rhythms of the natural world. The mystery of Loughcrew endures, and as the sun casts its light upon the stones during the equinoxes, it invites us to wonder, what did the people who built these cairns truly understand about the world and the universe, and what secrets might still be buried within the stones waiting to be uncovered? As we leave behind the ancient cairns of Loughcrew, we turn our gaze once more to the heart of ancient Britain, where another mystery lies hidden beneath the rolling hills of the Wiltshire countryside. Here, among the whispers of the wind and the expanse of the Salisbury Plain, stands West Kennet Long Barrow, a monumental burial site that, like many other ancient structures, holds more questions than answers. West Kennet is a large Neolithic long barrow, a type of ancient tomb that stretches across the landscape like an eternal shadow. The barrow itself is an elongated mound of earth and stone, sitting in a quiet, almost surreal harmony with the surrounding land. As you approach, the earth seems to pulse with history, the very ground beneath your feet feeling charged with an ancient energy. Its size and prominence suggest that it was once a place of great significance, perhaps a center of ceremonial importance or a site of profound spiritual meaning for those who built it. At 40 meters in length, West Kennet is one of the largest and most well-preserved long barrows in Britain. The structure was originally constructed around 3650 BC, and it is believed to have been used for the burial of high-status individuals, perhaps a tribe's chieftains or revered spiritual leaders. The long barrow was designed to hold multiple burials, with an initial chamber at the far end, lined with large stones, leading into a long passage. Inside the chamber, human remains have been found, fragments of bones that, over millennia, have been scattered by the forces of time and nature. Yet, despite these discoveries, the barrow has never yielded the full story of those who once lay inside. As you enter the tomb through the narrow, low passageway, a chill fills the air, as if the earth itself holds its breath. The passageway leads to the burial chambers, where the skeletal remains were originally placed, often carefully arranged. But it's not just the bones that remain within the barrow. It's the mystery that lingers in the stones. West Kennet is not simply a burial site. It is a site of ritual and ceremony, one that was likely used for generations as a sacred space, drawing people from all over the surrounding landscape. The stones of West Kennet are particularly striking, not just for their sheer size, but for the way they are arranged. The burial chambers are formed by large slabs, some weighing several tons, that seem almost deliberately placed, aligning in ways that suggest an understanding of geometry and symbolism far beyond what one might expect from Neolithic builders. While the exact purpose of these chambers remains unknown, the arrangement of the stones suggests that they were carefully chosen for their symbolic meaning. The use of large, flat stones, in particular, seems to have been a deliberate attempt to create a certain kind of space, one that could be used to honor the dead, yes, but perhaps also to facilitate communication with the spiritual world. What's particularly striking about West Kennet, however, is the degree of reverence with which the site was treated over centuries. Archaeologists have uncovered a vast array of artifacts in and around the long barrow, pottery, tools, and even animal remains, all of which suggest that the tomb was not just a place of burial, but a sacred space where ritualistic practices were carried out. Some of the pottery found within the tomb is decorated with intricate designs that might have held specific meaning, possibly connected to the beliefs or worldview of the people who created them. These items, found alongside the remains, hint at a complex and nuanced ritual system, one that involved the act of burial, the honoring of the dead, and perhaps a connection to the cycles of life and death. While the burial itself is relatively straightforward, the significance of these rituals remains a mystery. Some archaeologists have suggested that the long barrow may have been intended to honor the dead through ancestor worship, a practice common in many ancient cultures. The idea that the spirits of the ancestors were not simply laid to rest, but were invited to continue influencing the living, is a compelling one. Could the builders of West Kennet have believed that the tomb was a portal between the world of the living and the realm of the dead? Or perhaps they viewed it as a place where the living could commune with the spirits, ensuring guidance and protection from those who had passed before them. In the surrounding landscape, other Neolithic sites draw a direct connection to West Kennet, most notably Avebury and Stonehenge, both of which are part of a larger complex of ritual sites that span much of the Salisbury Plain. The relationship between these sites remains one of the great mysteries of the Neolithic period. Was West Kennet connected to these other stone circles and long barrows in a larger, regional, religious, or ceremonial system? It's known that the builders of Stonehenge, for example, had a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, aligning the stones to the solstices. Could the people of West Kennet have shared this knowledge, using the long barrow to mark significant times of the year, or to track the movements of the sun and moon? The solar alignment of some other sites, such as Stonehenge, has led some researchers to suggest that West Kennet may have been part of a larger network of ceremonial and astronomical centers, all tied to the movement of the sun and the changing of the seasons. Could West Kennet have served not just as a burial site, but as a kind of ceremonial calendar, where the cycles of life, death, and rebirth were marked by the rising and setting of the sun? If so, this raises more questions. Was there a more sophisticated understanding of time and the cosmos during this period than we have yet to grasp? And what role did West Kennet play in this larger, interconnected landscape of Neolithic ritual? Moreover, as with many ancient sites, the question of why West Kennet was abandoned remains central to its mystery. By the end of the Neolithic period, it seems that the long barrow was no longer in use, with the passageways blocked off and the tomb left to fall into ruin. Did the people who built it gradually abandon the practices associated with it, perhaps due to cultural shifts or changes in religious beliefs? Or did some catastrophic event, such as warfare, famine, or a social upheaval, lead to the end of its use? The abandonment of such an important site raises further questions about the social and spiritual fabric of Neolithic society. Was this abandonment symbolic of the larger collapse of a religious system, or was it simply the natural evolution of a people who had outgrown certain rituals? And then, there is the matter of the many stones that line the path leading to the long barrow. Archaeologists have uncovered a variety of smaller, less polished stones arranged in peculiar patterns, with some arranged in what appears to be a deliberate fashion leading up to the mound. Could these smaller stones hold significance, perhaps marking the path of a procession or the course of a specific ritual? And if they do hold meaning, what might that tell us about the people who used them and the ceremony that surrounded their use? As we stand before the still stones of West Kennet Long Barrow, we are reminded of how little we truly know about the ancient world. What did the people who built these sites believe? What drove them to invest so much effort, so much time, and so much spiritual energy into their construction? The mysteries of West Kennet, like so many others, remain largely unsolved, inviting us to wonder what lies buried in the earth, and what may still lie hidden, waiting for the right moment to be uncovered. As we leave behind the quiet reverence of West Kennet Long Barrow, we now turn our attention to another site, where the stones seem to hold a different kind of energy, a place not of burial, but of ritual, community, and celestial connection. Hidden amidst the rolling hills of the Peak District in England lies Arbor Low, a stone circle that stands as one of the most enigmatic monuments of the Neolithic period. Much like the other ancient sites we've explored, Arbor Low continues to baffle historians and archaeologists with its scale, purpose, and, most strikingly, its alignment with the cosmos. The moment you step onto the land surrounding Arbor Low, you can feel the weight of the past pressing in around you. The circle of stones, though partially ruined, remains an awe-inspiring sight. At first glance, Arbor Low appears deceptively simple. An oval-shaped arrangement of large stones, some still upright, others fallen, scattered across a grassy expanse. Yet, it is this very simplicity that makes it so striking. It doesn't boast the grandeur of Stonehenge or the elaborate carvings of other megalithic sites. Instead, it emanates a quiet, subtle power, like an ancient place that has been abandoned but still holds a sense of purpose. The circle itself consists of approximately 50 stones, varying in size, with one large stone positioned at the center. The stone circle is surrounded by a large, circular earthwork, creating a clear boundary between the sacred space within and the world beyond. But what is most remarkable about Arbor Low is not just its form, but its location. Situated on top of a hill with panoramic views of the surrounding countryside, Arbor Low commands an impressive presence, perfectly positioned to capture the movement of the heavens above. The celestial alignments at Arbor Low are particularly intriguing, with the stones appearing to be oriented to the solstices and equinoxes, suggesting a deep connection to the cycles of the sun, moon, and stars. Much like other stone circles across Britain, Arbor Low's builders must have had an intimate understanding of the heavens. Was this site used for astronomical observation, marking the turning points of the year with rituals designed to honor the movements of the sun? The orientation of the stones hints at such a purpose, but evidence remains scarce as to whether Arbor Low was a place of astronomical observation, a site of worship, or perhaps something entirely different. Though it is not as well known as Stonehenge, Arbor Low is no less mysterious. Archaeological evidence suggests that the site was used for ritual purposes, though what these rituals were remains unknown. The remains of a ritual deposit, consisting of animal bones and pottery, have been discovered within the circle, hinting at the possibility that Arbor Low was a site for sacrifice or offerings. Yet, unlike some other megalithic sites, no evidence has been found of large-scale burial or human remains, which raises the question, was Arbor Low truly a burial site, or was it a place of spiritual or celestial significance? Adding to the intrigue is the strange layout of the stones themselves. Some of the stones are upright, their surfaces weathered by the centuries, while others are scattered across the ground, some seemingly positioned at odd angles, as if they were once part of a larger, more complex arrangement. The central stone, larger than the others, stands as the focal point of the circle, but its original purpose is unclear. Was it a marker for a ritual, or perhaps a focus for astronomical observations? The placement of these stones suggests deliberate design, yet their precise meaning continues to elude us. Theories about the original function of Arbor Low abound. Some believe that the stone circle was part of a larger network of ritual sites, possibly linked to other Neolithic monuments in the region, such as the henges at Avebury and Stonehenge. These sites are often aligned with the solar and lunar cycles, suggesting that the people who built them had a deep understanding of celestial movements. Could Arbor Low have served as a way station in a larger system of sacred sites, guiding people on pilgrimages or connecting them to the cosmos? Others suggest that Arbor Low could have been a place of community gathering, where people came to celebrate important astronomical events or to mark the passage of seasons and life. What makes Arbor Low so puzzling is its lack of written records, leaving us to piece together its significance through excavation and observation. Theories about the stone circle's purpose are speculative, with no definitive answer emerging from the archaeological record. Did the site serve as a temple, a sacred space where ancient peoples gathered to perform rituals that connected them to the stars? Or was it, as some have suggested, an early form of a calendar designed to track the cycles of the sun and moon, perhaps used for agricultural purposes or to mark the change of seasons. What adds an extra layer of intrigue is the legends surrounding Arbor Low. Local folklore tells of strange occurrences in the area. Some say that the site is haunted by spirits, while others claim that the stones themselves have mystical properties, possibly imbued with the power of the ancient peoples who built them. Whether these stories are rooted in truth or simply products of imagination, they continue to add to the site's aura of mystery. Perhaps it is the way the stones stand against the sky, their weathered surfaces shaped by wind and rain, that compels people to imagine that they hold secrets, waiting to be unlocked. Interestingly, Arbor Low is one of the few stone circles that have been intentionally damaged by human hands. The stones that once stood proudly in a perfect circle were, over time, knocked over or moved. Some archaeologists suggest that this may have been due to the Christianization of Britain during the early centuries A.D., when many ancient sites were either abandoned or actively destroyed as part of the effort to replace older pagan practices with Christianity. But the question remains, was Arbor Low ever truly abandoned, or did it fall out of favor for reasons we may never fully understand? Did the knowledge it held about celestial alignment or rituals connected to the cycles of the natural world somehow fade from collective memory? One theory worth exploring is the idea that Arbor Low could be more than just a static site. It could have been a place that held the key to ancient rituals of transformation. The stones, arranged in their seemingly random patterns, may have symbolized more than just alignment with the heavens. Perhaps they represented a journey, a rite of passage that mirrored the cycles of life, death, and rebirth that were central to Neolithic belief systems. Could Arbor Low have been a place where individuals sought spiritual enlightenment or a connection to the divine through the celestial movements marked by the stones? Despite the theories, the true purpose of Arbor Low remains elusive. Was it a site of ritual sacrifice, a sacred space for the community, or an observatory aligned with the cosmos? The unanswered questions about Arbor Low continue to haunt those who study it, inviting us to consider what might still lie hidden beneath the earth or within the stones themselves. What knowledge, lost to time, could the builders of Arbor Low have possessed? Knowledge that has been buried by centuries of change. What were they trying to tell us, and why have their messages remained so cryptic? As the sun sets over the stones of Arbor Low, these mysteries remain as vast as the sky itself, waiting for the moment when, perhaps, they will finally reveal their secrets. As we leave behind the mystical stones of Arbor Low, we journey a little further south to the windswept hills of South Wales, where another enigmatic monument rests quietly among the green pastures of the Vale of Glamorgan. Here, nestled within a landscape both serene and otherworldly, lies the Tinkinswood burial chamber, a site of extraordinary historical significance and mystery. This megalithic structure, part of the greater landscape of Neolithic tombs in Britain, is truly awe-inspiring in its size and its craftsmanship. Standing in the presence of the chamber, it feels as though you are transported back thousands of years, walking in the footsteps of those who built it. The burial chamber consists of a massive capstone weighing an estimated 40 tons, supported by a ring of smaller upright stones. The capstone, a true marvel of ancient engineering, covers the burial chamber beneath, and its sheer size, enough to dwarf most men, speaks to the ambition and skill of the people who constructed it. The chamber itself sits in a low, grassy field, its stones now weathered and worn by centuries of exposure. Yet, despite its age, there is a presence about it, a silent reminder of the people who once gathered here. As you approach the burial chamber, you are struck by how this single structure seems to dominate the landscape, almost as though it was built not only for the dead, but as a marker, a statement, meant to be seen from a distance, a beacon of the Neolithic world. The size and design of Tinkinswood suggest that it was no ordinary tomb, and its location only adds to the sense of mystery surrounding it. Tinkinswood is thought to have been constructed around 3500 BC, during the late Neolithic period, a time when humans in Britain were transitioning from small, mobile communities to settled agricultural societies. This period is characterized by the development of stone monuments such as dolmens, cairns, and long barrows, all of which served as sites for the burial of the dead. Tinkinswood, however, stands out among these structures. Its grand scale, the use of megalithic stones, and the careful placement of the capstone suggest that it was likely reserved for someone of great significance, perhaps a leader, a chieftain, or a revered spiritual figure. What is particularly fascinating about Tinkinswood is not just its size, but the mystery surrounding its function. While it is widely accepted as a funerary monument, the details of how it was used, and by whom, remain elusive. The burial chamber itself was originally a single-chamber tomb, designed to house the remains of the deceased, yet its design and positioning suggest a far more complex relationship to the people who built it. The tomb, with its capstone and upright stones, may have served not just as a burial site, but also as a place for ritual or ceremonial practices. Was it meant to facilitate communication with the spirit world, or to mark the passage of time and seasons in a deeply symbolic way? The discovery of human remains within the chamber provides some clues, but the true meaning of the site remains obscured. When excavations were carried out in the early 20th century, archaeologists uncovered the bones of at least 2 individuals, suggesting that the tomb may have been used for multiple burials over time. Additionally, various artifacts were found in the vicinity of the chamber, including pottery and stone tools. These objects, while illuminating, only add to the mystery of the site. They speak of a culture deeply connected to its land, but they don't offer direct answers about the specific rituals performed here. Were these rituals tied to beliefs about the afterlife, ancestor worship, or perhaps the changing seasons? Could the site have been part of a larger religious or spiritual system that we have yet to fully understand? One of the most intriguing aspects of Tinkinswood is the astronomical alignment of the tomb. Some researchers have suggested that the chamber was positioned in such a way as to align with the solstices, a feature common to many other megalithic sites across the British Isles. The idea that ancient peoples might have used the site to track the movements of the sun and the stars, marking key moments in the agricultural cycle, is compelling. But could it have been more than just an observatory? Could the chamber have been designed as a ritual space where the movements of the heavens were interpreted as messages from the gods, or as omens that foretold the fortunes of the community? Interestingly, there are few other megalithic tombs of this scale in the surrounding area, which adds another layer of mystery to Tinkinswood's purpose. Was it a site reserved for a particular tribe or family, or did it serve a broader function for the larger community? Some scholars suggest that Tinkinswood may have been part of a greater network of ritual sites that once dotted the landscape. These places could have formed a kind of spiritual map, connecting different sites across the region, each one serving a specific function in the wider religious and social practices of Neolithic communities. Could Tinkinswood have been a center of power, or a site that marked the boundary between the sacred and the mundane world? The absence of similar large monuments in close proximity to Tinkinswood raises questions about its place in the broader landscape of Neolithic Britain. And then there are the legends that have grown up around the site over the centuries. Like many ancient monuments, Tinkinswood has become the focus of local myths and stories, some of which suggest that the tomb is not just a place of death, but a place of power. According to one local tale, the stones of Tinkinswood were once said to be enchanted, capable of bringing fortune to those who knew the secret rituals of the place. Such myths, passed down through the generations, add a layer of mysticism to the site, raising the question, what did the people who built Tinkinswood truly believe? While the traditional archaeological interpretation suggests that the tomb was used for burial and ceremonial purposes, other more speculative theories abound. Some have argued that the site may have had a more profound spiritual function, perhaps even as a portal to another realm. Could the size and orientation of the stones have been intended to align with the stars or the heavens in a more specific way? Could the capstone, with its immense weight and imposing presence, have served as a kind of symbolic gateway between the physical world and the world of the spirit? Even with all of this evidence, artifacts, remains, and celestial alignments, the mystery of Tinkinswood remains largely unsolved. Despite decades of study and investigation, we are left with more questions than answers. Who were the people who built this grand tomb, and what was their relationship to the cosmos? What deeper hidden meanings might lie in the design of this site? And how much more do we still need to learn about the spiritual beliefs and practices of Neolithic societies? As you stand before the towering stones of Tinkinswood, the silence of the surrounding landscape seems to speak volumes, as if waiting for the moment when we might finally decipher the full story of this ancient and mysterious site. The more we learn, the more we realize that, as with many other ancient monuments, the true meaning of Tinkinswood remains locked away in the past, its secrets hidden beneath the stones, waiting to be uncovered by those who are willing to listen to the whispers of time. What might still lie buried beneath the earth, waiting for discovery? And what knowledge might yet be lost forever? As we leave behind the towering stones of Tinkinswood, we venture further into the ancient landscape of Ireland, where another remarkable site lies hidden in the rolling hills. Carrowkeel Megalithic Cemetery, a collection of burial cairns scattered across the hills of County Sligo, presents us with yet another layer of mystery from the Neolithic period. This seemingly tranquil site, nestled among the Irish countryside, harbors secrets that, for centuries, have remained shrouded in the mists of time. Carrowkeel is not one singular tomb, but rather a cemetery, a sprawling collection of megalithic tombs, mostly passage graves and cairns, each holding the bones of the deceased from an era long gone. These tombs are perched high on a hilltop, and from this vantage point, the sprawling landscape unfolds beneath you, with views stretching far beyond the horizon. The quiet stillness of the site only deepens the sense of mystery that surrounds it. There is a feeling here of both permanence and absence, as though the tombs themselves have been waiting for something, waiting to reveal their secrets. The Carrowkeel tombs are believed to have been constructed around 3500 BC during the Neolithic period, a time when communities across Ireland were beginning to settle into agricultural life. They are part of a much larger landscape of megalithic monuments, many of which seem to have been built with an awareness of the natural world, its cycles, its rhythms, and its celestial alignments. The site itself contains at least 14 cairns, many of which are still relatively intact, though some are now reduced to piles of stones scattered across the hill. Each of these cairns is essentially a large mound of stones, built over the burial chamber. The tombs are often constructed in such a way as to form a passage that leads to the burial chamber, which would have once held the remains of the deceased. The grandeur of these cairns is immediately striking. Some of the passage graves feature elaborate stone corridors that wind through the earth, leading to the burial chambers at the heart of the mound. Inside, archaeologists have discovered human remains, pottery, and tools, hinting at the complex rituals performed by the people who built them. The craftsmanship involved in constructing these tombs is a testament to the skill and effort of the Neolithic builders, but the purpose of the site remains elusive. What did the people of Carrowkeel believe in? And why did they go to such great lengths to construct these monumental tombs? One of the most intriguing aspects of the Carrowkeel Cemetery is its alignment with the landscape. Like other megalithic sites, many of the tombs at Carrowkeel appear to be positioned with a clear understanding of the sun's movements. Some researchers suggest that the cairns were built to align with the solstices or the movement of the moon, alignments that would have marked important agricultural or ceremonial times for these ancient peoples. But were these tombs simply places of burial, or were they designed to serve a much larger spiritual or astronomical function? For example, one of the most remarkable features of Carrowkeel is the positioning of Cairn G, which, when viewed from certain angles, appears to be aligned with the setting sun on the winter solstice. This suggests that the builders of Carrowkeel may have been aware of celestial events, using the tombs not only as burial sites, but as markers of time, tied to the cycles of the seasons. Did the people who constructed these cairns see the sky as something that could communicate with them? Was the tomb a means of reaching the divine or the ancestors, linking the living to the dead through the movement of the heavens above? Yet, despite these possible celestial connections, the true significance of the site remains unclear. Why did these Neolithic people choose such a remote and elevated location for their burial chambers? Carrowkeel is not located near any significant settlement, which raises questions about why the tombs were built in such an isolated place. Was this a sacred space? A site that was seen as spiritually important due to its position in the landscape? Or was there another, more practical reason for its location? Some researchers speculate that the site may have been chosen because it offered a commanding view of the surrounding area, a view that could have been seen as symbolically important in connecting the living to the spiritual world. The mountains surrounding the site were thought to have been the domain of gods or spirits in many ancient cultures. Could Carrowkeel have been located here as a way to ensure that the spirits of the deceased could look over and protect the people in the surrounding valley? Equally mysterious is the nature of the rituals conducted at Carrowkeel. Some of the tombs have been found to contain evidence of cremation, while others contain the remains of individuals buried in extended positions, perhaps as a sign of high status. The presence of pottery, tools, and even decorated stones within the burial chambers suggests that these people may have believed in an afterlife, in which the deceased were provided with the means to continue their existence in the spirit world. But what did these rituals look like? Was there a specific type of person buried at Carrowkeel, a leader, a priest, or someone else who played an important role in the community? While some of the tombs contain multiple burials, the discovery of secondary burial practices suggests that the process of interring the dead was more complex than originally believed. Were the remains of the dead kept in the tombs for a time before being moved, or were they stored in a particular way that marked a spiritual transformation? The use of burial mounds and the alignment with astronomical events hints at the possibility that these tombs had a dual purpose, not just to house the dead, but to mark the rhythms of life and death. Were these tombs also sites of ancestral worship, where the living could connect with the spirits of their ancestors through ritual or celebration? Moreover, while the tombs of Carrowkeel are primarily seen as burial sites, the layout of the cemetery itself raises further questions. The positioning of the cairns seems deliberate, suggesting that the tombs were part of a larger plan, one that was likely deeply embedded in the community's spiritual and social structure. Could these tombs have functioned not only as places for the dead, but as a means of organizing the living, bringing people together to celebrate, mourn, or commune with the divine? Did the people of Carrowkeel believe that death was merely a transition, one that could be marked by specific actions in the physical world, actions that brought them closer to their ancestors or gods? Carrowkeel remains a place where questions outweigh answers, a site of ancient mystery that has not fully revealed itself. The tombs, the burial practices, the astronomical alignments, all of these elements point to a people who had a deep understanding of the land, the heavens, and the cycle of life and death. Yet, much like so many ancient sites, the purpose and significance of Carrowkeel remain speculative. Could there be more waiting to be discovered at this site? More tombs, hidden beneath the earth? Or could there be further astronomical connections yet to be uncovered? The mysteries of Carrowkeel, like so many others, invite us to keep searching, to keep questioning, and to wonder what might still lie buried, waiting to be found. As we leave behind the quiet, enigmatic hills of Carrowkeel, we now journey to the far northern reaches of the British Isles, to the Orkney Islands, where one of the most striking and mysterious megalithic monuments lies, the Ring of Brodgar. This ancient stone circle, set against the wind-swept, rugged landscape of Orkney, offers an intriguing glimpse into a time when the power of the earth and sky were thought to be intertwined, and the movement of the heavens held profound significance. The Ring of Brodgar is a monumental stone circle situated on a narrow isthmus known as the Brodgar Peninsula, on the largest of the Orkney Islands. With a diameter of approximately 104 meters and once comprising around 60 stones, it is one of the largest and most impressive stone circles in the British Isles. Today, 27 stones remain standing, their surfaces weathered by centuries of wind and rain, each one telling a silent story of the past. As you approach the circle, the stones rise out of the ground like sentinels, their jagged edges catching the light of the low sun, casting long, mysterious shadows across the surrounding landscape. It's easy to imagine the site as it once was, a bustling center of activity, filled with the rituals and ceremonies of ancient peoples. The very place seems to hum with the weight of history, its purpose obscured by time. Unlike some other famous stone circles, the Ring of Brodgar is not just a simple arrangement of stones. Its sheer scale and positioning suggest that it held profound significance for the people who built it. Surrounded by the vast open space of the Stenness Loch to the east, and overlooking the wild expanse of Orkney's untamed landscape, the site has an otherworldly quality. As you stand within the circle, the winds whip through the stones, and you can almost feel the presence of those who once walked this land. Perhaps their voices, lost to time, still echo in the wind. Dating back to around 2500 BC, the Ring of Brodgar is thought to have been constructed during the Neolithic period, when the people of Orkney were shifting from a purely hunter-gatherer society to one that embraced farming and settlement. The island was home to a sophisticated and organized society, skilled in construction, agriculture, and craftsmanship. The people who built the Ring of Brodgar were highly adept at manipulating the landscape, creating not only this stone circle, but also other monumental structures, such as the nearby Maeshowe tomb and the standing stones of Stenness. Together, these monuments form part of a larger ritual landscape that has been called the Orkney UNESCO World Heritage Site, a region that offers rare insight into the religious and ceremonial practices of the Neolithic world. Yet, despite the monumental effort that went into constructing the Ring of Brodgar, its exact purpose remains unknown. Was it a site for astronomical observation, as many other stone circles are believed to have been? Some researchers suggest that the stones were carefully aligned with the solstices, marking the positions of the sun at key points in the year, moments of significance for agricultural communities. Others argue that the Ring of Brodgar could have served as a place for communal gathering, a site where people came together to mark seasonal changes, perform rituals, or even settle disputes. Was it a center for spiritual or religious practices, where leaders or shamans communicated with the gods or the spirits of ancestors? Or could it have been a symbolic connection to the natural world, where the stones represented the forces of nature and the cyclical patterns of life and death? The alignment of the stones with celestial events adds another layer of mystery. Like many other megalithic monuments, the Ring of Brodgar appears to have been designed to interact with the sky, the sun, and the moon. In particular, the positions of certain stones align with the movement of the sun during the solstices, a feature that was likely significant to the people who built it. Could the people of Brodgar have viewed the movements of the sun and moon as divinely orchestrated events, marking the passage of time and the changing seasons? If the site was used to track the solar and lunar cycles, could it have been a kind of cosmic calendar, used to guide the agricultural activities of the community? Or was it, perhaps, a spiritual marker, indicating the changing of the seasons and the need for rituals to ensure fertility, harvest, and life itself? However, the mystery of the Ring of Brodgar deepens when we consider the location of the circle itself. The site sits on an isthmus, a narrow strip of land surrounded by water on either side. In many ancient cultures, water was seen as a boundary between the living and the dead, a place of transformation and transition. Was the placement of the Ring of Brodgar a conscious decision linking the earth and the heavens through its strategic positioning? Some have suggested that the water may have had symbolic significance, serving as a boundary between realms, perhaps the realm of the living and the spirit world. The stones themselves, arranged in a circle, could represent the cyclical nature of life, with death and rebirth occurring as the seasons turn. The setting of the circle, surrounded by water, could have reinforced the idea of a sacred space, a liminal zone between the known world and the unknown. Despite decades of research and excavation, the purpose of the Ring of Brodgar continues to elude us. Unlike Stonehenge, where at least some semblance of its function can be traced to ceremonial or ritual use, the specific role of Brodgar remains speculative. Theories abound, ranging from the site being a religious temple to a solar observatory, or even a place of governance for the local community. What seems clear, however, is that the people who built this monument were deeply connected to the land, to the skies above, and to the spiritual world they believed lay beyond. The sheer effort required to transport and position the stones, some weighing several tons, suggests that this was not just a casual undertaking, but a monumental effort, driven by a belief in its deep significance. Could there be more to the Ring of Brodgar than we currently understand? Some researchers have proposed that there are other, hidden aspects to the site that have yet to be uncovered. Could there be further alignments yet to be discovered, perhaps hidden beneath the earth or obscured by time? Or are there other stones yet to be found, buried beneath centuries of accumulated earth, that could provide more answers to the puzzle? And then, there are the legends surrounding the Ring of Brodgar. Like many ancient sites, the stones have become the subject of folklore, with tales of mysterious powers or supernatural events associated with the circle. Some believe that the stones are the remnants of a forgotten age, imbued with the energy of those long past. Others speak of the stones being capable of imparting wisdom or guiding travelers, if only they know the secret rituals to unlock their power. Such stories, whether rooted in truth or embellished over time, serve only to add to the site's mystical aura, reminding us that, even in the modern world, we are still fascinated by the ancient mysteries that continue to elude us. The Ring of Brodgar is a site that, like so many other megalithic monuments, raises more questions than it answers. Why was it built? Who built it? What did the builders hope to achieve with such a colossal effort? Was it a ceremonial site, an astronomical observatory, or a religious temple? And, perhaps most intriguingly, could there be secrets still hidden within the stones waiting to be uncovered? As the wind howls through the stones of the Ring of Brodgar, we are reminded that the answers to these questions may remain locked in time, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. The past, it seems, is always just out of reach, yet tantalizingly close, whispering to us through the stones, the land, and the sky above. As we journey through the vast landscapes of ancient mysteries, we leave behind the stone circles and tombs of the British Isles, heading southward to the sun-drenched shores of the Mediterranean. Here, on the island of Cyprus, lies one of the most remarkable archaeological sites of the ancient world, a site that challenges our understanding of early human settlement and offers clues to a lost civilization. Welcome to Khirokitia, a sprawling settlement of round houses that flourished during the Neolithic period, around 7000 BC. The moment you arrive at Khirokitia, the first thing that strikes you is the setting. Nestled on the slopes of a low hill, the site overlooks a broad expanse of rolling hills and verdant fields. At its peak, Khirokitia was a thriving community, its stone and mud brick houses laid out in concentric circles that radiate out from a central area. The houses themselves are striking in their construction, beehive-shaped, with walls made from large, carefully laid stones and roofs that were likely covered with branches or reed. The layout of the settlement is highly organized, with streets that seem to lead from one house to the next, each structure seemingly designed for both defense and community. The houses, though now in ruins, evoke a sense of order, a planned society built on cooperation and shared purpose. There's an eerie stillness about the place. The ruins of the houses are abandoned, and although they stand as silent witnesses to the lives of the people who once inhabited them, they also carry the weight of untold stories. What were these people like? How did they live? And what drove them to build such a sophisticated settlement in a world that was still in the early stages of agricultural development? Archaeologists estimate that the settlement of Khirokitia was inhabited for several centuries during the Chalcolithic period, the transitional phase between the Neolithic and the early Bronze Age. The people who lived here were among the first in the Mediterranean to practice settled agriculture, growing crops like wheat and barley, and domesticating animals such as goats and pigs. Yet despite the relatively advanced agricultural techniques, the people of Khirokitia still relied heavily on hunting and gathering, suggesting a society in transition. This blend of agriculture and traditional ways of life hints at the complex social fabric of the community. One of the most striking aspects of Khirokitia is the construction of its houses. The beehive shape is not unique to Cyprus, but it is remarkably well preserved at Khirokitia. Each house had a central hearth and small storage areas, suggesting that these were places of daily life, of cooking, socializing, and resting. The construction methods were sophisticated, using stone walls as a foundation with mud and other organic materials filling in the gaps. The fact that these houses were built so carefully, with such attention to detail, speaks to a culture that was well versed in the art of construction and knew how to make use of the natural materials at hand. Yet, as you wander through the remains, it's impossible not to wonder about the larger purpose of the settlement. Why this particular layout? Why the concentric rings of houses, carefully organized yet seemingly random in their design? Was this just a reflection of practical needs? Or was there something more profound at work here? As with many ancient sites, Khirokitia has left us with more questions than answers. The people who lived here seem to have been highly skilled, but their specific beliefs, social structures, and rituals remain elusive. There are few written records from this time, and much of what we know comes from the study of material remains, tools, pottery, and human burials. The discovery of human skeletons in the area suggests that this was not just a place for everyday living, but also for ritual and burial. Were the dead placed in the houses, or were there separate burial sites? The remains found within the houses appear to have been placed carefully, and there are indications that the community may have practiced ancestor worship with particular houses or spaces within the settlement dedicated to honoring the deceased. The layout of the settlement is another mystery that has puzzled researchers. Unlike some ancient villages where houses are built in loose clusters or in a more random arrangement, the houses at Khirokitia are organized into clearly defined rings. The circular layout, coupled with the presence of a central area, suggests a form of ritualized social structure, with a possible focus on communal gatherings or ceremonial events. Could the circular design have had symbolic meaning, representing the cycles of life, the passage of time, Or perhaps the relationship between the people and the cosmos? Could it have been a representation of the cosmic order, with each house acting as a microcosm of the world itself, and the central space serving as a point of connection between the heavens and the earth? Perhaps the most puzzling aspect of Khirokitia, however, is the question of its eventual abandonment. The site was occupied for several centuries, yet at some point it was completely deserted. No one knows exactly why the settlement was abandoned. Some scholars suggest that climate change may have forced the inhabitants to leave as the environment of the island shifted, making farming and fishing less sustainable. Others believe that social upheaval, or perhaps a change in trade routes or economic systems, may have played a role in the collapse of the community. There is even speculation that the inhabitants of Khirokitia may have been displaced by a more advanced culture, or perhaps even by a foreign invasion. What is particularly intriguing, however, is that while the settlement was abandoned, it wasn't forgotten. Later generations of people from different cultures and time periods would visit the site, perhaps in search of the secrets it held. This continued interest in Khirokitia suggests that the settlement held some sort of cultural or spiritual significance for later societies, possibly a symbol of an ancient golden age or a connection to the gods. Could the people of Khirokitia have believed that their ancestors, buried within the very walls of their homes, continued to influence the world long after death? Could the houses themselves have been imbued with spiritual meaning, not just as places to live, but as sacred spaces where the living and the dead coexisted? The presence of ritual objects, such as figurines and pottery, suggests that there may have been spiritual or religious practices connected to the home. But we can only guess what those practices might have been. The enigma of Khirokitia lingers in the air, a quiet whisper that speaks of lives long past but still somehow present in the stone foundations of the settlement. What was it like to live in such a tightly knit community, and how did the people of Khirokitia interact with the larger world? What beliefs drove them to build their homes in such a deliberate way, and why did they abandon this once thriving settlement? Perhaps, as we continue to explore the mysteries of the past, we will uncover more of what the people of Khirokitia left behind. Until then, the ring of houses, perched against the island's windswept hills, serves as a silent testament to a people who lived and died in a place that still holds many of its secrets. The answers may be hidden in the stones, the earth, and the scattered fragments of history that remain, waiting for the right moment to speak once more. As we move from the windswept hills of Cyprus and the mysterious stone circles of Orkney, we now turn our attention to the Iberian Peninsula, where yet another ancient structure stands silently, waiting to reveal its secrets. Nestled within the picturesque Alentejo region of southern Portugal, the dolmen of Anta Grande do Zambujeiro is a grand testament to the ingenuity and spiritual beliefs of its creators. This megalithic tomb, often overlooked in favor of more famous European sites, offers us a rare and tantalizing glimpse into a lost world that has long since passed from memory. Yet the questions it raises about the people who built it, and why, remain as powerful and mysterious as the stones that stand today. The dolmen of Anta Grande do Zambujeiro is one of the largest and most impressive dolmens in the Iberian Peninsula. Unlike the more familiar standing stones or stone circles, dolmens are megalithic structures typically used as burial chambers. The site consists of a large horseshoe-shaped corridor that leads to a chamber formed by large granite stones, with a massive capstone resting above it. The dolmen's entrance is marked by a series of upright stones, creating a sense of passage between the living world and the realm of the dead. The size of the structure is striking. At nearly 20 meters in length, it is an imposing structure in the landscape, commanding attention despite its ancient age. As you approach the dolmen, the first thing that stands out is the size of the stones. The capstone alone weighs several tons, and its sheer mass is a testament to the incredible effort it took to move such colossal blocks into place. The stones, though worn by the passage of time, still retain their dignity and power. The structure is so meticulously designed that it feels almost as if it were built to endure the ages, as though its creators intended for it to remain standing long after their own time had passed. And indeed, despite centuries of weathering and shifting landscapes, the dolmen endures, its stones still arranged as they were thousands of years ago. The exact date of the dolmen's construction is difficult to pin down, but it is believed to have been built during the Neolithic period, around 3000 BC. During this time, the people of the Iberian Peninsula were transitioning from a nomadic, hunter-gatherer lifestyle to a more settled, agricultural way of life. These early farmers and herders built dolmens, like Zambujeiro, not only as burial sites for their dead, but also as symbolic representations of life, death, and the afterlife, a way of marking the transition between the world of the living and the realm of the ancestors. But while the function of the dolmen is relatively clear, being a burial site, its precise meaning remains much more elusive. The alignment of the dolmen, for example, is a point of considerable interest. Much like other megalithic sites, the dolmen appears to have been positioned with a keen understanding of the sun's movements. Some archaeologists suggest that the dolmen may have been designed to capture the first rays of sunlight during the winter solstice, aligning the passageway with the sun's low arc on the shortest day of the year. This would have made the dolmen a kind of astronomical marker, signaling the end of one cycle and the beginning of another, in a way that reflected the cyclical nature of life itself. But was it merely a tool for tracking the seasons, or did it have deeper significance? Could the builders have seen the dolmen as a kind of portal, a threshold between the living and the dead? The corridor, stretching from the entrance to the burial chamber, gives the impression of passage, as though one would enter into the darkness of the tomb and emerge into a new world. The very design of the dolmen, with its long corridor and large burial chamber, evokes a sense of journey and transformation. The dead were not simply buried and forgotten. They were honored, kept close, and perhaps even believed to continue watching over the living. Within the burial chamber, archaeologists have discovered numerous artifacts, pottery, tools, and bones, all of which point to the fact that the people who constructed Zambujeiro believed in an afterlife, one in which the deceased would require provisions and protection. Some of the pottery found in the tombs is highly decorated with intricate designs that might have held symbolic meaning. These items are not just functional, they are likely part of a ritual practice meant to equip the deceased for their journey beyond. Did the people of Zambujeiro believe that their ancestors could still communicate with the living, offering guidance or protection in exchange for these gifts? One of the most fascinating aspects of the dolmen of Anta Grande do Zambujeiro is the fact that it is part of a much larger megalithic landscape. It is surrounded by other dolmens and burial mounds, suggesting that the site was not an isolated individual effort, but rather part of a broader community of people engaged in similar practices. The region around Zambujeiro contains a high concentration of other megalithic tombs, each one offering its own clues to the beliefs and rituals of the time. Yet, despite the wealth of archaeological material in the area, the precise relationship between these tombs and the people who built them remains unclear. Did the dolmens of the Iberian Peninsula represent a larger cultural system, a shared belief in death and the afterlife that spanned the entire region? Or were they localized practices, with each community imbued with its own unique customs and rituals? Some researchers speculate that the dolmen builders were not only concerned with death, but with cosmic order, aligning their tombs to reflect the movements of the stars, the moon, and the sun. The solstice alignments of the Zambujeiro dolmen suggest that the builders may have viewed the sun's path as a powerful force, perhaps even a divine entity guiding the cycle of life and death. But how did these ancient people come to understand these celestial patterns, and what role did the stars and the sun play in their spiritual life? As we dig deeper into the history of the Dolmen and its people, we encounter more questions than answers. Though much has been learned through excavation, the spiritual significance of the site remains elusive. Was it simply a tomb, or was it something more? Could the Dolmen have served as a focal point for ritual gatherings, where the living communed with the spirits of their ancestors? The very shape of the Dolmen, its long, straight passage leading into a chamber, suggests a journey, a symbolic crossing from one world to another. Could the people of Zambujeiro have seen their burials not as an end, but as a transformation, where the deceased passed through the tomb as a kind of sacred gateway? The mystery of the Dolmen of Anta Grande do Zambujeiro persists, just as it has for millennia. Its silent stones, worn by time and the elements, continue to hold the secrets of a long-gone people. What did the builders of this grand monument believe about life and death? What cosmic truths did they understand that we can only begin to grasp? And why, after so many centuries, do these stones remain, standing resolute in the quiet landscape of southern Portugal, guarding the mysteries of the past? Like so many ancient monuments, the Dolmen of Zambujeiro offers us more questions than it does answers. But perhaps it is in these unanswered questions that the true mystery lies, waiting for those who are willing to look deeper, to ask more, and to seek out the knowledge hidden beneath the stones. As we continue our journey across time, leaving behind the stone structures of southern Portugal, we now venture to the rolling hills of Sardinia, an island in the Mediterranean known not only for its striking beauty, but also for its deep and mysterious history. Among the many ancient wonders of this island lies a site that, though lesser known, holds the key to an enigma that has intrigued archaeologists and historians for centuries. Welcome to Monte Baranta. Located in the northern part of the island, Monte Baranta is an archaeological site that boasts some of the most intriguing remnants of the Bronze Age civilization that once thrived on Sardinia. The site is an ancient necropolis, a sprawling cemetery composed of tombs, burial chambers, and sacred enclosures, many of which are aligned with the astronomical events of the sky. But what makes Monte Baranta so fascinating isn't just the fact that it is an ancient burial site. It is the mysteries it presents. Who were the people who built it? Why did they create these elaborate structures? And what, if anything, did they believe about the afterlife? Monte Baranta is, in many ways, a microcosm of the broader mysteries of Sardinia itself, a land where ancient peoples seem to have had a remarkable understanding of geometry, astronomy, and architecture. The site is spread out over a large area, with hundreds of tombs and structures dotting the landscape, some of which are well preserved and others that have been eroded over millennia. Among the most remarkable features of Monte Baranta are the tombs, many of which are thought to be part of the Domus de Janus tradition, a style of burial chamber common to Sardinia during the Neolithic and Bronze Age. These tombs were carved into the rock, creating underground chambers that served as both burial sites and places of spiritual significance. Walking through the site, you can't help but be struck by the sheer scale of the tombs and the effort it must have taken to carve them out of the rock. Some of the tombs are relatively simple, small and rudimentary, while others are far more complex, with intricate corridors and chambers that suggest a deeper spiritual or ritualistic significance. The tombs are often lined with stone slabs, and the interior chambers are thought to have held the remains of the deceased, along with grave goods, items such as pottery, tools, and weapons that would have accompanied the deceased into the afterlife. But while these burial customs offer us some insight into the beliefs and practices of the people who constructed them, the reasons behind the site's design are far more elusive. Unlike other ancient burial sites across the world, The tombs of Monte Baranta do not appear to be arranged haphazardly. There is a distinct pattern to their layout, which suggests that the builders had a deliberate plan in mind. Could the positioning of the tombs have been symbolic? Were the people of Monte Baranta creating a sacred space that reflected their understanding of the cosmos? There are hints that the tombs may have been oriented to align with certain astronomical phenomena, such as the sun's rising and setting, or the moon's cycles. Could these alignments have had spiritual significance, linking the living to the movements of the heavens? As we explore further, we find more questions than answers. Some scholars have posited that the people who constructed Monte Baranta were deeply connected to their ancestors, and that the tombs were designed not only as burial sites, but as places where the living could commune with the dead. This idea fits with the broader ritualistic practices seen throughout Sardinia during the Bronze Age. But what was it that made these people so invested in honoring their dead? Was it simply a cultural practice, or did it reflect a belief in the continuity of life beyond death? Did the tombs at Monte Baranta serve as gateways, allowing the deceased to transition into another world, or were they merely the final resting places of those who had passed? Even more perplexing is the fact that the structures found at Monte Baranta are not limited to tombs alone. Scattered across the landscape are other megalithic features, large stone circles, standing stones, and menhirs that may have had a role in ceremonial activities. These features are thought to have been aligned with specific celestial events, most notably the solstices and equinoxes. It is clear that the people of Monte Baranta, like so many ancient cultures, had an intimate knowledge of the skies, and it seems that their lives were intricately connected to the movement of the sun, moon, and stars. Yet the precise nature of this connection remains unclear. The presence of these megalithic structures raises an intriguing question. Were the tombs and other monuments at Monte Baranta part of a larger ritual landscape? Did the people who lived here use the site for purposes beyond burial, perhaps as a center for astronomical observation or as a place for ritual worship? Some theories suggest that the tombs and stone circles may have served as markers for important seasonal events, allowing the people of the region to track the passage of time in a manner that was both practical and spiritual. But again, the evidence is scarce, and much of what we think we know about the site is based on conjecture. What we do know for certain is that Monte Baranta was not an isolated site. It was part of a broader network of megalithic sites on Sardinia, many of which share similar features. This raises another question. Did the builders of Monte Baranta share cultural or religious ties with other peoples across the island? Or was the site the product of an isolated, self-contained community with its own unique set of beliefs and practices? The sheer size and scale of Monte Baranta suggest that it was an important center, perhaps the focal point of a larger society or region. Yet there is still much we don't understand about the relationship between this site and others in Sardinia's megalithic landscape. As we stand among the weathered stones of Monte Baranta, one thing is clear. This is a place that holds its secrets close. The megalithic tombs, the stone circles, and the mysterious alignments all point to a highly sophisticated culture, one that understood the power of the earth and the heavens. But the deeper meanings behind these structures, and the beliefs that drove their construction, remain hidden beneath the surface, obscured by the veil of time. The question that looms over Monte Baranta is not just what it was used for, but why it was built in the first place. Was it simply a cemetery? Or was it a ritual center, a place where the living and the dead coexisted in a delicate balance, and where the movements of the stars were used to mark the passage between life and death? What did the people who built Monte Baranta believe about the universe and their place within it? And perhaps most intriguingly, what secrets lie buried beneath the stones, waiting to be uncovered by future generations? Monte Baranta remains one of Sardinia's most captivating and enigmatic sights. As we stand in its shadow, gazing upon the ancient tombs and stone structures, we can't help but wonder, how much more is still waiting to be discovered? And what, if anything, will the site reveal about the lost civilization that once called this place home? The mystery of Monte Baranta endures just as it has for thousands of years, standing as a silent sentinel to the forgotten past. As we journey deeper into the heart of ancient Europe, moving from the monumental stone structures of Sardinia and the Iberian Peninsula, we now arrive at a truly extraordinary site in the Emerald Isle, Ireland. Here, amidst the rolling green hills of County Meath, stands a vast and enigmatic monument. Knowth, one of the largest and most mysterious of the megalithic sites found at the ancient burial complex of Brú na Bóinne. Like the other passage tombs in this region, Knowth is a place of profound significance, yet it is unique for its scale, its intricate art, and its connection to the wider mysteries of ancient astronomy, culture, and ritual. Knowth, whose large mound rises nearly 12 meters above the surrounding landscape, is a commanding presence. It sits nestled between the meandering curves of the Boyne River, its location seemingly chosen for its connection to the natural world, a world in which the earth, sky, and seasons were believed to be inextricably linked. The mound itself, which covers an area of nearly 100 meters in diameter, is crowned with a series of stone chambers, tombs built for the honored dead of an ancient society that flourished over 5,000 years ago. The entire site, along with its famous companions Newgrange and Douth, forms part of the Brú na Bóinne complex, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that continues to captivate the imagination of archaeologists and visitors alike. At first glance, Knowth may seem like just another of the many ancient burial mounds scattered across Europe, but a closer look reveals it to be far more complex and puzzling. Known to be constructed during the Neolithic period, around 3,200 BC, Knowth's significance far surpasses its physical presence. The site is a celestial calendar, a temple of sorts, a link between the ancient world and the cosmic forces that governed it. But what exactly did the builders of Knowth intend? What were they trying to communicate with the arrangement of these stones and the intricate carvings that adorn them? The most striking feature of Knowth, beyond its enormous size, is its decorated stones, an extraordinary array of megalithic art that covers the tomb's massive stones. Over 200 stones at the site have been carved with intricate motifs, some of which bear symbols that are still impossible to fully decode. Spirals, zigzags, circles, and curvilinear patterns are etched into the rock with such precision that it suggests an advanced knowledge of geometry and cosmology, as well as a profound understanding of symbolic meaning. The sheer number and variety of these carvings is staggering. Some scholars believe that these patterns were not mere decoration, but a form of communication, a language that spoke of the forces of nature, the passage of time, and the movements of the heavens. The most famous of these carvings is a spiral pattern found on the stones near the entrance to the passage tomb, which appears to align with the sun at specific times of the year. Could these carvings have been used to track the movement of the sun, or were they marking important seasonal changes such as the solstices and equinoxes? The alignment of Knowth with the winter solstice is particularly noteworthy. On the shortest day of the year, the sun's rays penetrate the passage tomb's entrance, illuminating the inner chamber and casting light on the burial area. This alignment, which mirrors the famous solstice alignment at Newgrange, suggests that the builders of these monuments had an intricate knowledge of the sun's path and a deep reverence for the power it held over life and death. But the question remains, why? What did the people of Knowth, likely a small, highly organized group of people, hope to achieve by constructing such a grand and intricate site? Was it merely a burial place for the elite? Or was it something more? Some researchers speculate that the tombs and carvings of Knowth were used for ritual and ceremonial purposes, perhaps as a way to connect with the divine forces that governed the world. Were the symbols etched into the stones representations of the sun's power, a visual manifestation of the forces that shaped the world around them? Interestingly, the more we look at Knowth, the more it becomes clear that the monument was not just a tomb. It was an astronomical observatory. The alignment with the solstice, along with the specific arrangement of the chambers, suggests that the site may have been used not only for ritualistic purposes, but also as a tool for understanding and predicting the cycles of the earth and heavens. The people who constructed Knowth may have seen the sun's annual journey across the sky as a symbolic cycle of death and rebirth, mirroring their beliefs about the afterlife. The tombs themselves could have been viewed as portals to another world, with the light of the sun illuminating the dead, offering them a connection to the divine or to the ancestors. Yet, despite these plausible explanations, many elements of Knowth remain shrouded in mystery. The complexity of the site, its carvings, its design, and its alignments, suggests a society far more advanced than one would expect for a culture that had no written language. How did the builders of Knowth, with only rudimentary tools, create such a sophisticated structure? Did they possess knowledge that was lost over the ages, or were they simply much more attuned to the natural world than we are today? Even more puzzling is the symbolism that permeates the site. Many of the carvings at Knowth bear resemblance to other megalithic symbols found across Europe, from the Stonehenge complex in Britain to the sacred sites in Spain. Could these symbols be part of a larger pan-European tradition, one that connected people from distant regions through a shared understanding of cosmology and the natural world? Or were they localized beliefs, unique to the people of Bru na Boine and their understanding of the landscape they inhabited? As we move deeper into the history of Knowth, the more speculative theories begin to emerge. Some claim that the site was constructed as a ritualistic center for the elite, where the deceased were believed to undergo a spiritual transformation, entering the realm of the gods through their connection with the sun. Others suggest that the carvings may be a form of astronomical calendar, a way for the people to track the cycles of the moon, sun, and stars, ensuring that their agricultural practices aligned with the heavens. But still, none of these theories can fully explain the true purpose of Knowth, nor can they shed light on the meanings behind the carvings. The most tantalizing mystery of Knowth lies in its potential connection to other ancient sites across Ireland and Europe. The patterns and alignments here are not isolated phenomena. Rather, they are part of a larger web of ancient astronomical knowledge that stretches across time and space. Were the people who constructed Knowth in communication with other ancient cultures? Did they share ideas, knowledge, and rituals with far-off peoples, exchanging sacred knowledge about the sun, the stars, and the cosmos? As we stand before Knowth, its massive mound and decorated stones stretching out before us, we are left with more questions than answers. The tombs may be filled with the remains of ancient ancestors, but their knowledge and their beliefs remain as enigmatic as the intricate carvings that adorn the stones. What did these people know about the stars, the sun, and the passage of time? How did they perceive the afterlife, and what rituals did they perform to ensure their place among the gods? And what might still be hidden beneath the stones of Knowth, waiting to be uncovered by those who are willing to seek its secrets? Knowth, with its mesmerizing carvings and celestial alignments, remains one of the most captivating and mysterious sites of ancient Europe. As we continue to investigate its history, we are reminded that some mysteries may never be fully solved. Yet, it is in these mysteries that the true wonder of the past lies. As we leave behind the soaring megaliths of Karahunj in Armenia, we now turn our gaze northward to the windswept Orkney Islands, a remote archipelago off the coast of Scotland. Here, amid the rugged terrain and the ever-present salt air, there stands a monument that has both puzzled and fascinated archaeologists and scholars for centuries. Maeshowe, a vast stone structure, has long been a subject of intrigue, not just because of its monumental construction, but because of the many unanswered questions that linger about its purpose and origins. Maeshowe, often referred to as a chambered cairn, rises imposing and silent on the plains of Orkney, its smooth stone exterior a stark contrast to the jagged landscape that surrounds it. This Neolithic tomb, believed to have been built around 3000 BC, is a testament to the remarkable engineering skills of its creators. The mound itself is 18 meters in diameter and 5 meters in height, impressive even by today's standards. Yet it is the inner chambers that have captured the most attention. When one steps inside Maeshowe, the atmosphere immediately shifts. It is as if you have entered a sacred, otherworldly space. The air is cool and heavy, the dark stone walls seeming to close in on you, and the low ceiling is both claustrophobic and reverential. The passageway, just over 5 meters long, leads you into a main chamber, whose floor is lined with large stones. The walls of the chamber are engraved with a remarkable set of runes, mysterious symbols that suggest Maeshowe was not merely a tomb but possibly a ritual center, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead, between the earthly and the divine, was believed to be thin. While Maeshowe's purpose as a burial site seems clear, its role as an astronomical observatory, or even as a ritual space for celestial worship, remains an open question. The structure is aligned in such a way that, on the winter solstice, sunlight streams through the narrow passageway and illuminates the back of the central chamber. This precise alignment with the sun suggests that the builders of Maeshowe had a sophisticated understanding of the movements of the heavens. Could Maeshowe have been used as a calendar, marking the important shifts of the seasons, as many other ancient megalithic sites do? Was it perhaps a place where ancient ceremonies were performed to honor the sun, a symbol of life and rebirth, during the darkest day of the year? As we consider these questions, we must also acknowledge that Maeshowe is not an isolated site. It is part of a broader complex of Neolithic monuments in the Orkney Islands, which includes the well-known Ring of Brodgar and the Standing Stones of Stony. The fact that these sites are all located in close proximity to each other raises intriguing possibilities. Could they have been connected, perhaps forming a ritualistic landscape that was deliberately aligned to mark key celestial events? The fact that Maeshowe, the Ring of Brodgar, and Stony all seem to align with astronomical phenomena suggests that the people who built these structures were not only concerned with the afterlife, but also deeply connected to the cycles of the cosmos. However, the mysteries of Maeshowe extend far beyond its celestial alignments and architectural features. Perhaps the most puzzling aspect of the site is the runes that were carved into its walls, particularly in the 12th century AD by Viking invaders. The Viking graffiti is scattered across the stones, and while it is tempting to dismiss these markings as a later intrusion, they add a layer of intrigue to the site. Why would Vikings, who arrived on Orkney centuries after the tomb's construction, be so drawn to Maeshowe? Did they see it as a place of power, a sacred space, or was it merely a site they had come to plunder? Some of the inscriptions are more than just vandalism. The Vikings carved images of their gods, animals, and even short inscriptions into the stone, giving us a glimpse into how they may have viewed the tomb. Yet these runes also hint at the possibility that the tomb had a spiritual significance that transcended time, resonating with both the Neolithic builders and later Viking occupants. Could it be that Maeshowe was seen as a link to the past, a place where the people of Orkney, regardless of their cultural background, felt a connection to something greater than themselves? A place where they could commune with the divine, or with the forces that governed life and death. Yet, despite the centuries of speculation and research, we still lack concrete answers about what Maeshowe truly represented. Was it a royal tomb built to house the remains of powerful leaders, or was it something more complex, a ritual center, perhaps even a place of astronomical worship dedicated to the celestial forces that guided the world? Could it have been a temple dedicated to a long-forgotten god or goddess, or was it simply a monument to the dead, constructed in the hopes of securing the deceased's place in the afterlife? The precise purpose of Maeshowe is further clouded by the possibility that its true meaning has been lost to time. The fact that its builders did not leave behind written records means that we are left to interpret the site based on the physical evidence alone. The megalithic structure, the celestial alignments, and the runes all provide tantalizing clues, but they do not offer definitive answers. It is a puzzle that has fascinated archaeologists and historians for centuries, and yet we are still no closer to understanding the true nature of this mysterious tomb. In fact, as we delve into the mysteries of Maeshowe, we are faced with one undeniable conclusion. Some aspects of the site may forever remain beyond our reach. Perhaps the answers to these questions are buried beneath the stones, waiting to be uncovered by future generations of archaeologists. Or perhaps they are locked in the memories of the people who built it, memories that have long since faded from the collective consciousness of humanity. The most intriguing question of all is, why was Maeshowe built at all? What was the driving force behind the construction of such a monumental and intricate structure in the middle of Orkney's remote landscape? What did the builders of Maeshowe hope to achieve? And what, if anything, did they understand about the forces that shaped the universe? As we stand before this ancient monument, the mysteries of Maeshowe continue to haunt us, much like the wind that sweeps across the Orkney Islands. The alignment with the sun, the runes left by the Vikings, the ancient tombs, they all point to a sacred space whose full meaning is still unclear. What was its true purpose? What did it represent to the people who built it, and how did it connect them to the forces of nature, the gods, or the afterlife? And as we leave Maeshowe behind, we are left with one final question, one that may never have an answer. What else lies hidden beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered? As our exploration of ancient, mysterious sites continues, we find ourselves journeying into the highlands of Armenia, where a vast and enigmatic stone complex lies waiting to reveal its secrets. The site of Karahunj, often referred to as the Armenian Stonehenge, has stood quietly for thousands of years, its purpose and meaning wrapped in layers of historical enigma. Surrounded by the rugged beauty of Armenia's Vayots Dzor region, Karahunj commands a sense of awe as it rises against the backdrop of dramatic mountains. This ancient site, with its upright stones arranged in circles and lines, holds a mystery far deeper than simple folklore. Karahunj is not a solitary monument, but rather part of a much larger ceremonial landscape, a sprawling megalithic complex made up of more than 200 stones, some towering as high as 3 meters. These stones are not ordinary. They are meticulously placed, and many have intricate carvings etched into their surfaces. While some of the stones are plain, others are decorated with symbols, some of which resemble ancient astronomical markers, others with patterns whose meanings remain elusive. The site is not only mysterious because of its age, estimated to date back to around 3000 BC, but also because of its purpose, which has puzzled researchers for centuries. At first glance, Karahunj may seem similar to other megalithic sites, like Stonehenge in Britain or Carnac in France, where large stones are arranged in particular formations. However, the uniqueness of Karahunj becomes apparent when we observe its placement and design. Unlike Stonehenge, which is renowned for its circle of upright stones, Karahunj features a more scattered and irregular arrangement, with lines of stones extending into the surrounding landscape. But it is not only the structure of the site that is intriguing, It is also the presence of sky-gazing stones. The most striking feature of Karahunj are the holes found in many of the stones, particularly in the largest ones. These holes are round and smooth, suggesting they were not formed by natural erosion. Some of the stones with holes have been placed in such a way that they appear to be aligned with the sky. This alignment hints at a celestial purpose. Could these stones have been used to observe the stars, the moon, or even the movements of the planets? Many of the stones at Karahunj seem to be pointing towards specific constellations or celestial events. In particular, the site's alignment with the stars of the Orion constellation has raised intriguing questions. Was Karahunj used as an astronomical observatory to track the celestial cycles? This connection to the heavens is one of the primary reasons Karahunj is often described as an ancient astronomical observatory, though we still have little understanding of how it was used. Some scholars suggest that the holes in the stones served as early telescopes, perhaps used to view specific celestial bodies with great precision. Others argue that the site was a kind of ritual center, where the patterns in the sky had symbolic significance to the people who built it. The alignment of the stones with certain stars and constellations might not have been purely scientific. It could also have had spiritual or religious meaning, possibly as a gateway between the human world and the divine. If the people of Karahunj were indeed observing the heavens, they must have had a profound understanding of astronomy, far beyond what we typically associate with Bronze Age societies. But this knowledge poses yet another question. Where did it come from? How did this isolated community in the remote mountains of Armenia come to possess such advanced knowledge of the stars and planets? Did they have contact with other ancient cultures, perhaps through trade or migration? Or was this knowledge developed independently, possibly passed down through generations of astronomical priests or shamans who observed the heavens and interpreted their movements? Though there is little evidence to confirm these theories, it's worth considering the possibility that the people of Karahunj were practicing a form of astronomical magic, a belief system that blended celestial observation with rituals that were meant to harness the cosmic forces for human benefit. Was the site an ancient temple, dedicated to sky gods or cosmic forces that the people believed controlled the fate of the world? The placement of the stones may have had an intimate connection to the agricultural cycles that governed the lives of the people. Perhaps these celestial observations were tied to the timing of planting, harvesting, and other critical rituals of life. Yet, no matter how we look at it, the precise purpose of Karahunj remains elusive. Beyond its astronomical significance, Karahunj also raises questions about the social structure of the people who built it. The sheer effort involved in moving and erecting these massive stones suggests a highly organized society, possibly with skilled laborers, astronomers, and priests working together. This was no simple village, but a community that invested immense resources and labor in constructing a monument that would stand for millennia. Could this have been the site of an ancient religious center that attracted pilgrims from across the region? Was it a place where the people of Armenia gathered to worship or commune with the divine, seeking guidance from the stars above? While Karahunj's role in the ancient world remains unclear, there are hints that it might have been connected to other ancient sites across the Caucasus region. Archaeologists have speculated that this part of Armenia, with its rich history of ancient cultures, may have been a center of influence in early agrarian societies. Perhaps the people of Karahunj were part of a larger network of communities that shared knowledge about the heavens and the earth, cultures that passed down astronomical wisdom through the ages, perhaps even to the Babylonians and other early civilizations. Of course, no archaeological site is free from speculation. Some even argue that the function of Karahunj may have extended beyond simple astronomy and religion. Could the stones have been used for more practical purposes, such as marking land boundaries or serving as landmarks for travelers in the region? Was the arrangement of stones at Karahunj meant to track solar and lunar cycles, helping people with the timing of rituals and festivals? Could it have been an early form of calendar system? Yet, despite these theories, there is still so much we don't know. Karahunj's mysteries are compounded by the fact that no written records have been found that could explain the site's purpose. Archaeologists are left to piece together the meaning of Karahunj based on physical evidence and their best interpretations of the celestial alignments, the decorated stones, and the geographical positioning of the site. But, as is often the case with ancient wonders, the truth may never be fully uncovered. As we stand before the massive stones of Karahunj, one question lingers in the air. What secrets do these ancient stones still hold? What was the true purpose of this remarkable site? Was it simply an astronomical observatory, or was it something more? A sacred site where the ancient peoples of Armenia engaged in celestial worship, or perhaps a place of heavenly communion, seeking to bridge the gap between the human and the divine? For now, Karahunj remains a powerful, mysterious monument to an ancient people whose understanding of the stars and their connection to the world around them remains beyond our full comprehension. The mysteries of Karahunj continue to echo through the ages, inviting us to wonder what knowledge has been lost and what might still be hidden beneath the surface of these ancient stones. As we journey further into the enigmatic world of ancient stone circles, we arrive in the northeast of Scotland, in the rolling hills of Aberdeenshire. Here, amidst a landscape of untamed beauty, where the wind howls through ancient forests and the earth seems to pulse with timeless energy, lie the recumbent stone circles, a remarkable and little understood feature of the ancient Scottish landscape. These circles, scattered across Aberdeenshire, are not like other stone circles we've encountered. Instead of the usual upright stones, the hallmark of the recumbent stone circles is the presence of one large horizontally laid stone, the recumbent stone, surrounded by an arrangement of vertically standing stones, many of which are aligned with the stars. The site's mystical aura is enhanced by the quiet solitude of the land, making these circles feel almost like forgotten gateways to another time. The recumbent stone circles are unique, not only because of their striking layout, but also because their purpose and origin remain largely elusive. The largest and most famous of these circles is found at Benachie, where towering stones form a nearly perfect circle, with the recumbent stone lying at the southwest side, its long shape pointing towards the horizon. This circle, like many others in Aberdeenshire, was constructed during the Neolithic period, around 4000 to 3000 BC, a time when humans were transitioning from nomadic life to settled agricultural communities. Yet despite their clear importance in the landscape, the true function of these stones remains a mystery. Standing before the recumbent stone circle, one cannot help but be struck by the magnitude of the stones, some of which weigh several tons. How did ancient peoples, without the modern tools and machinery we take for granted, manage to move such massive rocks and place them with such precision? Was this task the work of skilled artisans, or was it the result of a ritualistic labor force drawn together by the need to build a sacred structure? And what exactly did these people intend to achieve with these monuments? The recumbent stone itself is perhaps the most curious feature of these circles. In most megalithic monuments, stones are placed in a vertical position, as seen in structures like Stonehenge. But the recumbent stone lies horizontally, often the largest stone in the circle, almost as if it were a throne or an altar. Some scholars suggest that this stone may have had a ritualistic purpose, possibly used as a place of sacrifice or a platform for ceremonial acts. Others have speculated that the recumbent stone could have served as an astronomical marker, pointing towards key celestial events like the solstices, or the movements of certain stars. The alignment of the recumbent stone with the surrounding standing stones seems to suggest a celestial connection, though no one can say with certainty which astronomical events were being tracked by the builders of these circles. Interestingly, the stones that surround the recumbent stone are not random but seem to form a pattern. The arrangement of the standing stones is carefully considered, with several of them appearing to align with specific points on the horizon. Some of the stones even have carvings, though the symbols remain poorly understood. What were these ancient peoples trying to communicate with these markings? Were the stones intended to align with the stars as part of an astronomical calendar? Or were they signaling something more symbolic, perhaps a connection between the earth and the heavens, or between the living and the dead? These questions remain largely speculative, and there are a number of competing theories that attempt to explain the role of the recumbent stone circles in the lives of the people who built them. One theory posits that these circles were constructed for ritualistic purposes, serving as places of worship or commemoration. It's possible that the recumbent stone was a symbolic throne for a shamanic figure or priest, with the vertical stones representing a connection between the earth and the sky. The careful alignment of the stones could also point to their role in rituals tied to agricultural cycles, marking the seasons and the renewal of life. Another compelling theory suggests that the recumbent stones were designed to serve a more practical purpose, that of a marker for burials or ancient settlements. The placement of these stones may have been a means of demarcating sacred or ritual space, possibly used as a symbol of power or to commemorate ancestors. In this case, the recumbent stone would have represented the sacred resting place of the deceased, while the surrounding standing stones could have marked the boundary between the living and the dead. However, the most intriguing theory ties the recumbent stone circles to the study of astronomy. Some researchers have noted that the stones in these circles are not randomly placed, but seem to be aligned with specific stars and celestial events. The recumbent stone may have been positioned to catch the first light of the setting sun during the winter solstice, a critical moment in the ancient agricultural calendar. The precise alignment of the stones with certain stars suggests that these people were tracking the movement of the heavens, and, by extension, the seasons that governed their survival. Could these circles have been used as a kind of astronomical observatory to mark important events in the sky? If so, it would mean that the ancient builders of the recumbent stone circles had an advanced understanding of astronomy, knowledge that was passed down through generations in ritualistic contexts. Despite these theories, the true purpose of the recumbent stone circles remains elusive. What is clear, however, is that they were not simply functional structures, but powerful symbols, perhaps representing the people's understanding of the world around them, both the celestial and the earthly. The combination of astronomical alignment, ritual significance, and the sheer scale of the stone constructions suggests that these circles were places of deep meaning for the ancient peoples of Aberdeenshire. Whether they were used for rituals, ceremonies, or as markers of important astronomical events, the recumbent stone circles represent a profound connection between the ancient world and the cosmos, a link that we may never fully understand. The mystery of the recumbent stone circles endures, partly because of the unanswered questions about their purpose and partly because of the stories that these stones could tell if they were able to speak. Why were they built? What drove the people of this ancient land to invest so much time and energy into erecting these massive stones, aligning them with the heavens, and shaping them into such a striking formation? Were they simply trying to mark the passage of time, or did they seek something deeper, a way to connect with the divine forces that govern the world? As we stand among the ancient stones of Aberdeenshire, the wind sweeping through the heather, it becomes clear that some mysteries will remain forever locked in time. What else might lie buried beneath the earth, waiting to reveal its secrets? And perhaps more intriguingly, who were these people, and what did they truly understand about the world around them? The recumbent stone circles, like so many ancient monuments, offer us clues to a world long past, yet the full meaning of their existence may forever remain a mystery.